Nefertiti, not the painted bust of Nefertiti, but the Nefertiti on the temple wall seen by all in ancient graffiti. Heed me, 33 years ago, God freed me. Then she said she needed to spit the truth for her, we freely. Easy, open mics, now don't tease me. My face gets sweaty, palms get all greasy. I'm flashing shit, all you see is feces. Written shit, spitting shit, KRS a different species. This boy beastie, he's slow and he's low. That is the tempo, when you know, rappers come and go. Always claim they run the show till they feel that thunder blow. Straight from the mother flow, gutter flow. They spit bullshit, I spit the other flow. But bullshit's a fertilizer, maybe to help these brothers grow. I don't know. I came to find you. We're the gods. I came to remind you. We're the gods. Don't let them blind you. We're the gods. The truth is inside you. We're the gods. Queen Mother, wake up. King Father, wake up. You sleeping on this teaching? It's you I gotta shake up. Wake them up. We the return of the Christ. Christ is not a man. It's a symbol of a community brought back to life. They got you looking for a red or white or blue savior. But here comes the black savior, Krishna, Gat Blazer. Tongue sharp like that razor. Original rap flavor. I speak in general terms cause I'm that major. Still got the pager privately. Don't lie to me. God is the Motorola mobilizing inside of me. My sheep know my voice and stay tracing and clock to me. When knowledge reigns supreme, ignorance you not gonna see. Unite with me, and I'll unite with you. Don't fight with me, and I won't fight with you. Establish law, that's what we gotta do. The future's dependent on us. Maybe this is not for you. I came to find you. We're the gods. I came to remind you. We're the gods. Don't let them blind you. We're the gods. The truth is inside you. We're the gods. Yes, we have to organize. Do away with all the lies. They come with the Magnum, the Glock, and the 45. In between the protests, we protest and realize. Yes, we have to organize. Do away with all the lies. They come with the tear gas and Glocks and the 45. In between the protests, we protest and realize. Realize that we have already been here before. Protests in the streets cause we see and we all in war. Burning police cars and we shooting, looting these stores. You may not agree, but you see they changing these laws. The only thing they understand now is a city burning. They acting like they shocked with these cops, they just learning. Seeing Mr. Floyd on the ground, it got them squirming. Now we can see they are the Nazis, we the German blacks. Organize. Do away with all the lies. We protest and realize. Yes, we have to organize. But all the lies. They come with the tear gas and Glocks and the 45. In between the protests, we protest and realize. Yeah, we always wake up, but then we go back to sleep again. In between the protests is when we be getting weak again. We hear about the loot, another shooting this week again. This gives the police another excuse to hit the streets again. White police, black population can never be a friend. Our mothers and our fathers and our families, they be seasoning. They the overseers, we the SLAVEs to them. We gotta rise to the level where we ain't them. Everybody organize. Do away with all the lies. They come with the Magnum, the Glock, and the 45. In between the protests, we protest and realize. Yes, we have to organize. Do away with all the lies. They come with the tear gas and Glocks and the 45. In between the protests, we protest and realize. Yes, you have to follow me. It's my philosophy. The white law monopoly makes democracy hypocrisy. And a capitalist economy is no democracy. I demand the return of my sovereignty, no apology, independence, autonomy. No need to mommy me. I can run my own country if you could just stop bombing me. Give me my land back, give me my gold back, my heritage, my birthright. You outright stole that. Organize. Do away with all the lies. They come with the Magnum, the Glock, and the 45. In between the protests, we protest and realize. Yes, we have been organized. Do away with all the lies. They coming with the tear gas, blocks, and 45. In between the protests, we protest and realize. I'm gonna tell you the truth though. Really? I like to read a lot. Books be uplifting me. Words help you see a lot. This book was a gift to me. Chuck D presents this day in rap and hip-hop history. It's a reference book. It puts important dates in a list for me. Jamel Shabazz, A Time Before Crack. A photographic history of hip-hop from way back. His Martha Cooper's hip-hop files, Charlie Ahern, Wild Style, and 50 Cent's 50th Law. I used to read this to my child. Sometimes I look at my library and I smile, cause if I can't find it on the shelf, I know it's there in my file. Meanwhile, there's other books with other hooks and outlooks. I like to cook, so I read about cooks. I can't live without books. I like books, I recite books, I even write books a lot. Science of rap, ruminations, gospel of hip-hop. But let me spit a quick list, a book list that's really short. The first book that you should get is really a passport. Travel, that's key, but the books can unlock it. Unlock your mind by reading lines of new topics. Place your optics on books of real black knowledge. Beginning with Carter G. Woodson, I'm paying homage. His book, Miseducation of the Negro, is essential for freeing your mind from the slavery that's mental. Turn up this instrumental. You ain't dealing with an amateur. I'm reading Walter Rodney, How Europe Undeveloped Africa. That's the man to thank, high rank. Let's look at the birth of Black America by Andrew Frank. Take that to the bank. Let me rock again, hip hop again. Check out Africa, mother of Western civilization by Yosef Ben Yakinen. Check out Black Man of the Nile again by Yosef Yakinen. Civilization or Barbarism by Shank and Tajop. And then Black Indians by William Loring Katz. Take it back. Anything by Dr. Cornel West, you need to go get that. Michael Eric Dyson, all his books, go get all of that. Henry Louis Gates, PBS, show support for that. I'm like Banneker with the Almanac. Books, I got the tallest stack. The Brooklyn Public Library, yeah, that's where I started at. I read up everything, every book that I could see. While these others went to college, I got my knowledge for free. Philosophy, theology, paleoanthropology, mythology, economy. I study these subjects entirely for free. It was free. You got to see me. It was free. Open your eyes and see. It was free. You got to see. Good things in life are free. Don't waste your money. Let us continue on the menu with these reference books, like the Oxford English Dictionary. For words, it's a better look. It deals with word history, before and after them. But it's funny, in the A section, you can't find the word African. But these books, don't start trashing them, bashing them, harassing them. It just shows accurately the racism to the maximum. Here's American Heritage Dictionary, 4th edition. Here's what it looks like when we look at the definition of Shirley Chisholm. Keep the wisdom and the complication. Shirley Chisholm was the first black woman to seek the Democratic presidential nomination. You talk about breaking new ground, Shirley's profound. But in the American Heritage Dictionary, this is nowhere to be found. This is an American Heritage Dictionary reference. And Shirley Chisholm's run for president doesn't get one sentence. I'm just pointing it out. Scholarship, what it's all about. Don't just read. Find out what these authors are all about. I'm free. It was free. You got to see me. It was free. Open your eyes and see. It was free. You got to see. Good things in life are free. Don't waste your money. I'm gonna switch up on y'all real quick. Racists in these places only see me as chattel, but I'm more like the Django on the horse with the saddle. Put a racist head in the gravel with the burner. Harriet Tubman, John Brown, and the one Nat Turner. I'm a learner. I keep my head in the book, so when a racist start talking, I can never be shook. I can never be took, because I'm knocking they block off. Like crack dealers used to say, let's get this rock off.
You're always blaming me. I'm not the enemy, you are.
People ask, why are you looting the stores? Why you burning down the business and the city that's yours? First of all, the city ain't mine, it's yours. Democracy's a joke when capitalists write the laws. You critique my flaws and don't speak of yours. You only show the effects and never speak of the cause. I got no money, no help, and no voice. With no way out, I only got one choice. Break through the glass, rock through the window. Tear gas moving in the way that the wind blow. Rubber bullets overhead, now we gotta get low. But this is how slaves were treated from the get-go. Robbery, invasion, and rape. These are not criminal acts, these are the acts of the state. If you just waking up to this fact, you're a little late. For justice, how long you think we gotta wait? Yeah, come on! Yeah, come on!
You're always blaming me.
Woo.
I'm not the enemy, you are. You're claiming unity. It's time you see who you are.
Liberate your mind. Living ain't a crime. Innovate the time. Renovate the rhyme. Every line and rhyme you're using should erase confusion and bring your people a revolution. Winning, not losing. Helping, not using. Oppression, aggression, and hate, we refuse it. If you really want change, we write the Constitution. But that's the one solution that they are not doing. So we sharpen the blade, clean out the barrel, pick up the rock and the bow and the arrow, pull out the gas mask and the protest apparel. For justice, I'ma go into battle.
You're always blaming me.
Stand up!
I'm not the enemy, you are. You're claiming unity.
Stand up!
This time you see who you are. Who you are. Who you are. You're always blaming me. I'm not the enemy, you are. You're claiming unity. This time it's time you see who you are. Who you are. Who you are.
Yes, indeed. It is the Temple of Hip Hop. Another Sunday, 7 o'clock. Well, it actually may now be a little early, a little later than that. And, oh, thanks for that. I was actually going to let the album go again. And probably get on this podium and start performing. But I don't know, wherever you guys are tonight, wherever you are tonight, you know, feel good about yourself. Straight up and down. There is really no reason for worry, doubt, fear, You know, G. Simone has an acronym for struggle. And it says, situations that remind us God's grace lasts eternally. Again, situations, what is a struggle? A situation that reminds us God's greatness, God's goodness, God's grace lasts eternally. And what does that mean? It means that even though you're going through something right now, probably going through something right now at this very moment, some sort of challenge. Always remember the last challenge you had and how you got through. What most people don't realize is they never look back on how they defeated the challenges that got them up to the present challenge that they're actually at. It's sort of like we lose faith in ourselves. You know, think about how many other times you thought you was going to die and you didn't. Think about the other times you thought you was going to lose out and you didn't. Now the new struggle comes in front of you. What do? Panic? No, you rely on your divine performance. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because, you know, and keep in mind that, it's really hot in here. Maybe it's just me. Blazing energy. But at this point, and we're in Atlanta too, by the way. So those that are in colder climates, you know, I feel for you. But we're dealing with some hot weather here, at least humid weather here. And I'm not really even dressed for it. I got this hoodie on and it's all crazy. I know I'm bugging. But I ran out the house today and ran over here, and it's always exciting to be here. And let me just finish up what I was saying before. You know, by the way, I tried to turn that fan on.
Oh, you trying to get the fan?
I tried, it didn't come on. No, I plugged it in, but the switch, I turned it on, it didn't even work. I'm not doing something right, or something to that effect. Well, whatever.
I don't think it works.
Yeah, whatever. It's what it is. I was trying to get some air going. I don't know if you got to open the door or something. You want to open this door?
Sure. If you want.
All right. Well, you know what? Well, look, y'all, this is live, so we're just going to do our thing. Well, actually, you know what? No. I'll leave it shut. I'll just sweat it out. That's it. No, but I got my towel and I'm good. So it's gonna it'll come down. It'll come down. It doesn't take me much to sweat years of performing. It is what it is. So what I'm ending off, really starting with and ending my introduction here, is that, you know, a struggle. Many of us, you know, right now going through struggles, whether it be bills and financial situations, whether it be other people, whether it be an opportunity that you're really looking for, whether it be something that was just taken from you. Anything that constitutes a struggle is simply a situation that reminds us God's grace lasts eternally. God's goodness lasts eternally. And you saw it the last time you got out of your struggle. Now, we got a lot to read today. And I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. We're looking at the divine performance, and we're looking at page 134. Actually, we're going to start on page 144 of the Gospel of Hip Hop. Again, let me just go through my formal intro. Welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. The Temple of Hip Hop is a hip hop ministry, archive, school, and society. Our mission is to preserve, promote, and further develop hip hop. We approach hip hop as a divinely inspired culture. That's what makes our ministry different. That's what makes it unique. We look at hip hop as our conduit to God, our medium toward God. And we don't just make stuff up. We deal with facts. We deal with evidence. We deal with truth. So welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. This is more of a mystery school, more of a philosophical learning than that of science and or religion. I always say this, that philosophy is the mother of both religion and science, and it's time we got back to that. So many people, you know, today you hear this constant reference to, you know, oh, it's all about the science. We got to stick to the science. And that's because a bunch of atheists are talking. And I don't have no problem with no atheists. Philosophy, they say a little bit of philosophy leads to atheism, but a full philosophy leads to God. So I don't have no problem with atheists. They're just, in my opinion, at the beginning of their studies. But people are on television and stuff trying to diss the soul, trying to downplay God. And what they're trying to do is bring you the Christian God and say, oh, that's a joke, ain't it? And deep in your heart, you know what? I think it is. But what's happening is that what they're not doing is teaching you Christianity the way Christianity is supposed to be taught. It's not supposed to be some white man in the sky. It's supposed to be the divine man within yourself, or divine woman within yourself. This is the point. But if you don't teach that, then you got a bunch of people running around talking this and that and contradicting the Bible and blah, 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 blah. So remember what the temple of hip hop is. We believe God here. We're about God here. But not some God in the sky. That's not what it's about. You are the God that we are discussing here. You are the divinity that we are discussing here. Other churches, temples, mosques, synagogues, they don't go there. They take God out of you and say you must worship this, something external to yourself. And we don't diss that. Some people need that. But if you're at the temple of hip hop, you are studying to be God-like. You are studying to be Christ-like, the Mahdi-like, the Buddha-like, Krishna-like. You want to adopt the character of holiness. And that's what we teach you. The Gospel of Hip Hop, turning to page 144. We're going to start right there. Why are we starting there? Because we're talking about divine performance. That's what we're dealing with right now. Divine performance. And that's what we're going to talk about through our session today. We got a lot of reading to do, like I said, but it's going to be illuminating. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of God's Son as well. Son, one, you didn't know that.
I had a feeling.
Oh, I know you did. I'm going to give, oh, great. Wait, is that too loud, though?
We're going to find out.
That's nice, though.
You can feel it?
Yeah, I can feel that heavy. Yeah, that's where it's at. But it's too strong. It's blowing. In a minute, I'm gonna look like Superman. My hair blowing in the back. Like, what's good? It's like some Hollywood production here. Yeah. So you get wild with it.
That's as low as it goes.
That's as low as it goes. But maybe I don't know. You can play with it. Probably push it back. You know. And then I guess hit the headphones to see if you can even hear all that buzzing. I don't know. Yeah, that's good though. This is great. And just for my own, just to say this to you. Well, first before we really get into this, you see what's going on here like this? You see what's happening? You see what's going on? Stuff dropping and stuff. You see what's going on? This is the original ministry. This is how it was done. People who speak on behalf of God, we're not in mega churches. We're not with 1,000 people. No true spirituality was ever taught like that. It was always taught like this. In a setting where, you know, this is, like I said, this is our little garage, this is our little study space right here. And this is how it goes down. I wanted to show you, though, that although you guys cannot feel the air that I'm now getting, there's a fan on in here blowing. Now, you guys might not be able to feel it. How does that sound? It don't sound bad? Let me turn it down later. So, you guys can't feel the air that I'm now feeling, which feels really good. But this is the point to spirituality, if I may bring this to you right now. This is the point. People who read their spirituality and never experience it are like people who are watching me right now, but can't experience the wind that's blowing on me right now. It's like you can hear the words that I'm saying, but you can't really get the experience of what I'm saying unless you're actually here. If you're actually here in this room, then you'll feel the breeze. And you'll notice that what I'm teaching came with a breeze. There was a certain temperature to the room and so on. Now, when you're studying spirituality, this is precisely how you got to look at it. When you read a spiritual text, there is so much about the environment that you're not getting. So much other stuff is going on that you're just not seeing. And the object of our teaching here at the Temple of Hip Hop is for you to be able to see the invisible. Because this is the way in which you see God. You can't see God just in the physical. That's not the only way to see God. The real way to see God is in the invisible. Can you see the invisible? This is part of what we call a divine performance. I just want to get into it now. Not even turn. Okay, page 144. I'm starting at the A. Now you'll see a sub paragraph here, A. What this section is the divine performance. Why am I reading this right now? Because I'm getting ready to go into a meditation. Some of you may have heard that when March starts, which is tomorrow, we are going into a meditation. I'm going into a month-long meditation. Those that just deal with the health side of it, you know of the 21-day fast, the 21-day cleansing. Some do it as a master cleanse, 3 days, 7 days, 10 days. But throughout the year, I take these moments to cut off everything. You know, no wine, no weed, smoking and all that. None of the greasy foods, salty foods. I put down the ice cream and the cake, and I try to spend less money. And I upgrade my vitamin intake, my water intake, and my positive thinking intake, which means that some days I will be fasting from talking and responding. Like I'm giving myself that break. So I'm just imparting that to you in case you want to try to go on that fast yourself, or just mentally know that this is what's going on for the month of March. So because of that, I'm getting ready to go on this mission. So that's why I'm reading this to you, but also to those who are new with us, who haven't really heard the divine performance yet. I'm going to start here because also our lesson gets into this. When we get over to our screen, we're going to get into a deeper level of divinity and divine performance. So page 144A, it says, from where you stand, sit, or lie, cleanse your mind with the following affirmation, which was given to me by my mother years ago. Say, and actually it wasn't given to me, actually. I put that here because it was my mother that used to say these things to me when I was young all the time. But the actual piece that's written here was written by my mother to Simone, my wife, the G. Simone, the acronologist. So my mother wrote this to Simone for her to be empowered. And so I quickly snatched it and put it in the gospel. So it says, I am not afraid. It says, say the following affirmation 3 times every night before you go to sleep, and once in the morning when you awaken for 21 days. So you can see it's not just about your eating and this kind of thing, your ingesting of stuff, but it's also about the mind state that you're going to be in during this time. Say the following affirmation 3 times every night before you go to sleep, and once in the morning when you wake up for 21 days. You got to feel this. Not just say it, you got to feel it. And also expect it. Here's the affirmation. First, I am not afraid. Today I give myself permission to be all that I can be. New fields of divine activity. And highlight that word divine. If your gospel is open right now, highlight the word divine. That's what we're dealing with today. Divinity. New fields of divine activity now open for me. Unexpected doors fly open. Unexpected channels are now free. My mind is focused and directed toward my victory. I now create what I need with divine energy. Good things come to me easily, in peace, and at the right time. There it is. Now, for those that are just joining us, let me break this down for you real quick. Because you'll notice there'll be certain things within the temple, within our discussion that uniquely applies to us. Right now, like I said to you, I'm dealing with divine energy, divine character, divine activity. And that's what we're doing. Is the two words that appear here is divine activity and divine energy. This is what we're dealing with. And underline those words, divine activity and divine energy. This is B now. At this very moment, you must decide to change your diet toward the consumption of healthier foods and thoughts. If you are above the age of 18, you should be gradually withdrawing from the consumption of all processed and junk foods, meats, and meat products. Even before you finish these overstandings, you should gradually begin to accustom your mind and body toward a healthier diet. You should begin to gradually lessen your intake of dairy, flour, salt, sugar, and other addictions like hate, worry, and fear. Resist overeating and lessen your intake of drugs that can cause irregular eating or overeating. Respect yourself by committing to yourself. Remember, the future you is depending upon you now to make the right decisions for its survival. You know, I preach this all the time. Be a friend to your future self. This is the attitude one must adopt in order to protect, preserve, and develop oneself productively. Therefore, realize the truth of God's actual presence and cleanse your body inside and out, for it is now God's temple. Prepare now for the arrival of your God. Now, those that have their gospel, you'll notice two spellings of God. We're going to get into that one too. I'm going to read this last part again. Realize the truth of God's actual presence, capital G-O-D, presence. That is the sovereign mind of the universe. That is what is guiding our direction. God, capital G-O-D. Realize the truth of God's actual presence and cleanse your body inside and out. For it is now God's temple, capital G-O-D's temple. You're bringing divine activity and divine energy into your temple. Prepare now for the arrival of your God, and now it's lowercase, or capital G, lowercase O-D. This is you. When the gospel speaks of lowercase, when the gospel speaks of capital G, lowercase O, lowercase D, we're talking about you. We're talking about your higher being. We're talking about your connection to the capital G-O-D, to the guidance of your life. Here's C. At this very moment, and before you prepare to sleep, confess to God the things you thought, said, and done that you felt were not right. See, that's hard to do. Ego got to leave on that. It says, at this very moment, before you prepare to sleep, confess to God, capital G-O-D, the things you thought, said, and done that you felt were not right. Forgive your enemies first, by acknowledging that they were young and ignorant, and then ask God, capital G-O-D, to forgive you of your immaturity and ignorance. Remember, God is a mirror. The universe is a mirror. What you do to it, it does to you. We're going to see that in the slide. What you do to it, it does to you. And what it does to you, you do to it. Try to realize that. Like, try to really get that in your head. Forgive your enemies first by acknowledging that they were young and ignorant, and then ask God to forgive you for your immaturity and ignorance, because that's the only way you're going to get it. You're not going to get the forgiveness of God until you forgive someone. When you forgive someone, not to say someone, every time I say someone, I think it's someone. And I do forgive you, someone.
I appreciate that.
And, and I should have put it, maybe I'll do it in the second instrument. But it says forgive your enemies first. But you can forgive your friends too. You can forgive your friends. Your friends do some crazy stuff. Your friends, okay, do some crazy stuff. You can forgive them too. Because the forgiveness you're going to lay down on your friends and on your enemies is the forgiveness God is going to bring to you. It's a mirror effect. Ask God to guide you toward increased knowledge. Trust no man or woman with your confession. Confess your mistakes only to God. Ask God to forgive you of your anger and discourteous responses, even while driving, working, and walking. Humble yourself and truly contemplate the pain that you've caused others. Ask God to forgive you and bless those whom you have performed ignorantly and destructively toward. We all do it. And it's starting from it. We all do this. No matter how holy or intellectual or whatever we think we are, disciplined, just living in this society, you bump into people, you hurt people, you disregard people, and not because you want to, but it's because of the society in which we're living in. We're just all on top of each other, moving and competing with one another. We're forced to compete with one another to get ahead, to get to the goal. And in that, you hurt people. You step on people. Not that you want to, but this is what goes down. So make sure you ask God to forgive you and bless those whom you have performed ignorantly and destructively toward. You can also directly seek the forgiveness of those you have hurt by performing the superhuman act of apologizing. Can we underline the word superhuman? Because we're going to get into that again. Remember last week we talked about superhuman and stuff. We're going to continue that this week as well. Perform the superhuman act of apologizing. Cleanse the guilt from your own heart. Apologize. Repent. Let it go. Seek to resolve the conflicts and misunderstandings in your own life. And then it says seek, perform forgiveness, which is another part of the divine performance. You can go there on your own time. The issue here is, as we begin to cleanse, as we begin to go on our 21-day fast, and it doesn't have to be a food fast. Let me keep that in mind. That's why I'm reading this to you. It doesn't have to be a food fast. You can fast from talking. You can fast from spending money. You can fast from saying destructive things about people. You can fast from criticizing people. You can fast from going places. I'm not going. Here's D. Right now, at this very moment, think about a space close to where you sleep, where you can set up an area to pray and study. It could be a space on the floor, a table, a shelf, or a window. It could be as small as a shoebox in a corner, or as large as an entire bedroom. In any event, at your beginning, the space you set aside to pray and study should be near to where you sleep, if possible. After you've designated a space, choose a surface, a table, a shelf, a box, a crate, etc., to place in your sacred space. Such a surface is commonly called an altar. Actually, A-L-T-A-R. Altar. Altar. It is the physical place you go to alter your awareness, change, modify your awareness from natural to divine. It is the place where you talk in the presence of God. It is in this place that you confirm your past, present, and future victories. Now just understand, understand what it is I'm saying here. It is an altar is the physical place that you go to alter your awareness from natural to divine, from man or from human to superhuman. You got to ask yourself, where is the place in your house that occurs? Where is the place in your house that is the divine, the divine place? The place that nobody gets to see, the hidden chamber, the upper room, behind the veil. Where is that place in your house? This is the setup of your divinity. If you don't believe in your own divinity, you can forget it. Close the book and turn this whole thing off. Because if you don't believe in your own divinity, nothing I'm saying here is going to make sense. This is knowledge for God-like people. This is not knowledge for average human beings. This is knowledge for kings and queens, gods and goddesses, sages, prophets, mystics, those who carry those titles. That's what this knowledge is about. If you just some dude just walking around or some chick, yeah, well, whatever, then this ain't for you. And there's no hard feelings. It just ain't for you. But for those of you that know you are divine, like my man God won, yeah. Like that, yeah. This is for you. Okay, this is for you. This was put together for you. So, like I want to emphasize this. Where is the place that you go in your own house, in your own room, in your own space? Where do you go to alter your consciousness? It may seem like nothing. They say, what is Chris talking about? A place you can go to alter your consciousness. What is that? But you'll notice that when you set up that space, put a candle on it, burn that sage, put your gospel up there, you will start to feel something, because that space is not your kitchen. It's not your bathroom. It's not some other space. You have specifically designated this space for this purpose. And anything that the mind perceives is real. Paragraph, I'm moving down, we're still in D, paragraph 2. Or second paragraph, which is actually the third. Here you can cover your designated surface with a new and clean cloth. Then place upon your covered surface a candle or candles, your favorite oils, sprays, waters, incense, picture of those you truly love and or admire. And this gospel of hip hop open to either the freestyles or your favorite overstanding. After you have done this, thank God for your sacred space, and then repeat your affirmation 3 times and go to sleep in faith, in peace. Last week, what did we talk about? We talked about faith last week. We said, what is faith? Literally, not some blown up, super spiritual, no. What is faith literally? It's confidence. It's fidelity. It's loyalty to something. It's confidence in something. So go to sleep in confidence that your altar space, your sacred space is a sacred space. And of course, it says go to sleep in faith, in peace. And look how it's written, in faith, semicolon, in peace. Because if you rest in confidence, then you are resting in peace. Most people apply rest in peace to the dead. Why we never apply it to the living? The dead don't need that. As a matter of fact, listen to it. They say to the dead, rest in peace. No, the dead are up and popping. They just in a different dimension. They up and running around. The only one who needs to rest in peace is you at the end of our day of hard work. You need to rest in peace. So let's continue with this. just want to say this last part of this last part again. After you have done this, thank God for your sacred space, and then repeat your affirmation 3 times, and go to sleep in faith, in peace. I want to say this again because if you don't give this to yourself, it will not happen. Stop waiting for something outside of yourself to confirm yourself. Grow up, become mature, and give yourself the divinity you know you deserve. Cleanse your environment with the establishment of your sacred space, and let not your sacred space be violated. Let not your space be violated. Believe in your spiritual reality, and it shall become real in your life. Look at this. Believe in your spiritual reality, and it shall become real in your life. That's all anybody else is doing. Everybody else is believing in their spiritual reality, and then they coming to you with Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, because they believe on their stuff. But then you say hip hop, and they go, man, get out of here with that. Hip hop ain't no divine. You go, okay, let me just, what do you want me to do? I want you to tithe every week. Give me your money. So you guys can read the rest of this. I just wanted to point out these pieces because tomorrow's March, and I start a 21-day fast on various levels. I'm not stopped eating, but I will be, within these days I will take eating breaks. But like I said to you in the front part of this, it's about upgrading what you know is right for body and mind. Upgrading and lessening what you know is wild. You know the ice cream and the cake is wild. You know that. We enjoy it. We enjoy all pleasures of the earth. Don't get it twisted. We are not, abstaining from anything. We want it all. We are hip hop. Okay? We're going to enjoy our time on this planet. But if you're going to do that, then you have to be disciplined and give yourself a moment to step away from pleasure. Recalibrate yourself without stimulants, without pleasure, without any of that. Get yourself back in order. And then go back to your pleasures again. And they're real pleasures now. You can enjoy them. Why? Because you have control. You can stop and you can start. You can stop and you can start. That's the control. That's the spiritual path. Nothing on the spiritual path says you have to deny yourself anything. Universal beings do not deny themselves anything. God is everything. So what you want to do as a God man, God woman, as a God being, what you want to do is give yourself moments of abnegation. Give yourself moments of abstinence when you just stop for a minute. And again, if you don't have the strength to do that, then how you calling yourself divine? You've got to be able to stop with the pleasures and the cravings of the world and the temptations. You got to bring it to a halt at some point. And bring it to a halt based on your lifestyle. That's why I said you got to pick for you what it is. For some of you, you spend money too much. Every day you walk outside, you got to spend something. Fast from that. That's a holy act. Some of you got to talk all the time. Shut your mouth. Give your mouth a break. And say, I'm going to go 24 hours without talking. Who can do that? It sounds easy coming out of my mouth. But when you actually try to perform this, it is very difficult. Especially if you're around people. And that's how you have to practice the fast. Not alone in your room. It's easy to be alone in your room with your mouth shut. Ain't nobody there. But people constantly coming up to you. Hey man, what's up? And you got to show them a card. something that says, I'm on a fast. I'm on a talk fast. I will not be answering you. You know, can you walk around like that? You know, back in the days, spiritual people, it was a fasting practice to walk around with a plant. With a plant. Simone and I did this one time. We were traveling internationally, and we had a plant. We said, if we could walk with a plant, okay, you know how difficult it is to walk anywhere, really, holding a plant, a bowl, a small plant, something you could just hold. But the plant was alive, and we treated it like a dog or a cat. It's a being, a living being. We spoke to it, really spoke back to us. I'm not getting into that, but we was dealing with this being as one of us. And you notice that when you're holding the being moves you like a child. You know, your child's playing, so as a mother or father, you move according to the child. You move the child's right. Don't stop that. Now, come on over here. I need you to sit down over here. You're moving because of the child. You make the commands because of the child. And the same thing with pets. You know, the dog over here, the cat over there, the bird over there. You know, you're trying to, your movement will be based on what the dog do. Well, can you hold a plant and walk around, do shopping? So you say, what are you doing? This is my friend. This is my friend right here. And give your friend a name, or let your friend tell you its name. And say, this is my friend right here. And when you go to meetings, you go to the meeting and you put your plant there. And say, my assistant is here with me, and we're just going to take the meeting. Well, Simone and I was going to Europe by way of ship, obviously, jumping off of Brooklyn, landed in Southampton, England, to get our trip started. We took a plant. We took a plant with us. And imagine we had 40 bags, okay? We got tool equipment, bags, everything, but I got this plant. And the plant gave me another life. It gave me another life. First of all, you used to working with two hands, now you're working with only one. And now you don't have to grab so much stuff. You're being guided by the presence of this plant. So other things, you're avoiding all kinds of stuff in your life because you got this plant. This is a form of fasting. This is a form of fasting where you are limiting yourself to divinity. You're limiting your character to divinity. It's not all out here. Oh, the star and the moon and clouds and men coming from on high and aliens from space. And sorry. It's very simple. Very, very simple. What do you believe about yourself? And fasting and prayer and meditation, they prove who you are. So think about what you want to abstain from. And think about also what it means. You don't have to just stop everything. But what in your life can you bring a limitation to and live in that limitation? Because it's when you limit yourself from the world that you find divinity. The more you're in the world, less divinity. Now that's the gospel of hip hop. Those that don't have a copy of the gospel of hip hop, go to krs-one.com and get yourself a copy of this or anywhere that books are sold like this. So what we're going to get into here is the English Hexapla. Those that know of our teachings, you'll notice that we work from the Hexapla. The Hexapla is really the scholarly. This is the scholarly Bible. This is a holy Bible. There's 6 Bibles in them. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me just go right over here. So I'm going to go right now to the to my presentation over here, so I can explain the Hexapla and get into the other part of our lesson here as well.
Okay, let's take a quick break.
We'll take a quick break. Let me readjust the cameras so that I can get over here real quick and do this. We'll be right back. The Jimmy. Well, woo, where do you get it like that from? So here's our lesson today. We're talking about divinity. And we're going to start right here. Okay? What I want to bring up to you, matter of fact, let me just make sure I got this right. This is Life magazine. This is the most recent Life magazine. I put my glasses on because I wanted to look at the thing that says February 5th, 21. Okay, February 5th, 21. And it says display until February 5th, 21. So February 5th, 21 was the last time this was seen on the market, in supermarkets, bookstores, wherever Life magazine is sold. We're starting here because not only are we talking about divinity, I'm sorry, son, which is my camera?
It could be that.
It could be this one? All right, I'll work with this one. We're starting here because if you really want to discuss divinity, you have to discuss truth. And this is not the truth. No disrespect to the Christian faith, but how long are we going to see this? I mean, like, come on, this is hip hop now. We're not disrespecting nobody's faith, nothing. But what exactly is this? We know the original person that they're referring to as Jesus, his name was Yeshua, first of all. So what is Jesus? There's no J's in Hebrew or Latin. Or should I say Greek? There's no J's. The just sound is not in Latin. And there's no J's in Hebrew. So what is a Jesus? In Old English, the S could have been an F. Some places like Wycliffe, the early versions of Wycliffe's Bible, and not Wycliffe Jean from the Fugees, is a theologian who first wrote the Bible. His name is John Wycliffe. John Wycliffe's version of the Bible, sometimes it's written Jesus Christ, because the S could have also been an F. Why do I bring all of this up? It says, who do you say that I am? Who do you say that I am? Now, you know Life magazine knows that this was a black man in Africa. Simple and plain. You know they all know this, okay? You know they know. So why show us this in 2021? We're still pushing this in 2021? Well, long before the popularization of Jesus as the Christ was understood as an experience, not a person. Did you hear that? The Christ was understood as an experience, not a person. It was something that you became. It wasn't something to revere or praise, like love and peace or war and hate, even jealousy, anger, and seduction. The ancients viewed these principles, as well as the Christ, as real forces to be experienced. And when someone acted in these ways, such a person was called the son of whichever of these principles or forces they were expressing. But it was clearly understood that such forces as love, peace, war, hate, even God and Christ, etc., were of the realm of the invisible, the divine realm, the sacred. Such states of consciousness were understood to be beyond the material world. Therefore, nothing of the material world could actually describe such states. You had to experience these states of consciousness for yourself. Any literal interpretation of any divine force or person distorted the true essence of such a force or principle. No material representation or image or even teacher could ever define the realms of reality that existed beyond the material world, beyond the human senses. Such teachers, etc., could point the way, even inspire and guide young seekers of truth toward this form of spiritual enlightenment. But the actual path of such spiritual enlightenment was to personally experience it. Again, it was something you became, not something you praised or served. That's slave talk. God, the Christ, heaven, let me read that again. God, the Christ, heaven, and other spiritual states of existence were considered by the ancients to be indescribable. So they referred to such states of existence symbolically as a tree, or as a leaf, or as an insect, etc. Even as a bird, a snake, a lion, footprints, and so on. But never as a person. The personification of divine forces was considered immoral and misleading. Did you hear this? I'm going to say it one more time. The personification of divine forces was considered immoral and misleading. This was the original way. For the ancients, the material world was not real. It was an effect of the invisible world, which required a certain sight or awareness to see. It was by correctly looking at the visible world that one was able to see the invisible world. By knowing that the visible was caused by the invisible, the ancients looked past the material world to see the causes of it. Like the wind blowing the trees. They didn't actually see the wind, but they did see the wind blowing the trees. This gave shape and form to the wind itself. Try to understand this. I'm reading pretty quickly because we have a lot of reading to do. But I want you to understand what this is about divine forces, divine activity. Okay? Which is what we started with. Divine activity, divine energy, divine character. The minute we say divine, we point into a white Jesus. And this is why we can't get divine. And even worse than that, you notice that the image of Jesus is a crime. Because the Christ is not to be depicted in any kind of form. It's something you're supposed to experience. To this day, Muslims do, or Islam forbids the making an image of the Prophet Muhammad. Blessings on his name. On his name. Blessings be upon his name. Blessings upon the Prophet. We don't make images of the Prophet Muhammad. It's immoral. So let me go to this thing. Okay, so it was by looking at the shapes and forms of visible things that the ancients saw the movements and intentions of invisible things. See? This is a new sight. This is divine sight. To be able to see something. Actually, you know what? Let me get a tissue. Let me get a tissue real quick. Thank you very much. Okay. I want you to see this. It was by looking at the shapes and forms of visible things that the ancients saw the movements and intentions of invisible things. So right away, what is divine sight? That when you look at something like a tree blowing, you don't just see the tree, you see the invisible wind. Okay, like the force of gravity, another example. We cannot actually see gravity, but we know it exists by the way it warps space. When the ancients looked at material objects, they did not simply see the object alone. They also saw the forces shaping and moving such objects. They saw the cause and intention of such objects. These forces, okay? These forces were considered divine, and like God, they too were never to be depicted literally in art or writing. Such was seen as a degradation of such divine forces and thus a disrespect to those devoted to the comprehension of such forces. Comprehend this, because we're going to show you what happened to divinity. Divinity was attacked long ago and still being attacked to this day. And like I said at the beginning, you get this, we're in this era where everyone's saying, let's rely on the science. Let's rely on the science. And science is cool, but it is not God. It is not the soul. It is not spirit. Science don't even know what a mind is. Okay, science don't even consider consciousness something relevant to add into its calculations. So we love science. Science is cool, but it ain't all of human existence. In truth, some of the earliest images of divinity, especially within Judeo-Christian and Islamic culture, were never even made. Let me read that again. In truth, some of the earliest images of divinity, especially within Judeo-Christian and Islamic culture, were never even made. The earliest and most ancient depictions of early Jews, early Christians, and early Muslims were never depicted in art and sculpture because even before the invention of the Ten Commandments, many ancient devotees of the spiritual life rejected the idea of creating images of divinity or divine beings or of themselves. This idea was then adopted by ancient Jews and then early Christians onto Muslims as the second commandment, believed to have been given to Moses at Mount Sinai. Here's the commandment. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything in heaven above or that is in the earth beneath or that is in the water under the earth. Here we have the Ten Commandments. You see the second deal here, okay? I'm going to read this here. This idea was then adopted by ancient Jews and then early Christians onto Muslims as the second commandment, believed to be, I just read this, I'm going to say it again, believed to be given by Moses at Mount Sinai. And now this is what I have it up. This is a short version, and this is what we just read. I'm going to read it again. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything in heaven above or that is in the earth beneath or that is in the water under the earth. And here's the Ten Commandments in a short version. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images. And some people, they make a slang version of this. They say, thou shalt not make unto thee any engraven image. But the actual word is graven image. And when we look here, here's the word graven from the Oxford English Dictionary. And we can see there's a graven one, but my page here starts with graven two. It's the same definition. That's why I just have this page up. Those that have their Oxford English dictionaries, you can go and see graven one and other versions, the etymology of graven. But I have this page up because the graven that is being discussed in the Bible at the Ten Commandments is this. What does it mean to be graven? Okay, with dignity. That's the obsolete form of it. Now I start here, right? Now remember, to Jews, Christians, and Muslims, to make an image of God or divine forces is immoral and illegal. Why was that the case? You see how I just set it up? I told you, and many of you were thinking, that's right. Jews, Christians, Muslims, right. They're not, the second commandment says make no graven images. Don't make no image of God. Don't make no image of Christ. Don't make no image of anything in heaven like love and peace and all that. Don't make no images of that. Those things are supposed to be experienced. They're not to be looked at or owned. But here's the trick, y'all. The people the people that wrote this were the people who are against our culture. Woo! Hold up. I know this is going to be a shocker, but we got to get through it, y'all. We got to get through it. The people that wrote these commandments, okay, they couldn't do what we could do. So they banned it. The first human beings on this planet are artists. Okay, this is it. The first human beings on this planet, the first Homo sapien, Neanderthal, Lucy, you name it. The first humans on this planet are artists. Not only that, they're stonemasons. They take stone, and make images of themselves, of their thoughts. So what we're dealing with here is two different cultures. One culture is visible, and the other culture is invisible. It's the invisible culture that we belong to. The visible culture that you see killed the ancestors of our culture. This is history. This group of Judeo-Christians and Muslims, with no disrespect, because there's a lot, I can play the stupid role. Yeah, Christians did good in society. Jews do good. Muslims do good. Of course they do. But their ancestors, written in their holy books, killed our ancestors. Those who would have been considered hip-hop in ancient times were the artists, the weavers, the dancers, the stonemasons, the architects, the people who could take wood, chop it down, and make art out of it. This is what they couldn't do. So they banned it from their own community. And there's stories about how Jews had artistic skill. They were killed or thrown out of their community because they was caught making an idol. That's what they call an idol, an engraven image. So they got thrown out their community because they had an artistic skill. And keep in mind that this is not even really Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, because Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all have artists, all have sculptors, all of them. So what we are looking at here is the sanitizing of divinity. Divinity is only going to be one way. And that one way is going to be the Christian church way. It's not even going to be the original Christian way, the original Jewish way, the original Islamic way. It's not going to be that. It's going to be the way the church, the Vatican, Catholicism, the way they felt that divinity should be. They took art out, they took music out, they took the drum out, all that left. They said that's the devil. So in order for you to see your divinity, you're going to have to learn how to look at the visible to see the invisible. This is the tree of life. Literally, Christians, the tree of life. This is the tree. Hip hop is the breeze blowing the tree. You see the tree, but can you see the breeze blowing in this tree? The breeze blowing. Let's continue with graven. Graven means with dignity. Okay, it's like, if thou doest it half so gravely, so like, let me find a better word. That's old English. Is it having placed it gravely about the streets till or 3 o'clock in the morning, their idols were carried with much ceremony into the temple. Okay, graven idols. Okay, there was a whole group of people that used to make images of divinity, and this is how I set you up like that. For a minute, you were starting to say, right, why should we make images of love and hate and this and that? Right, it's wrong to do that. No, it's not. Not if you're an artist. But this is how twisted this thing becomes, because hip-hop always existed amongst the people. It's the invisible spirituality. It's what the church was dissing all along. That street knowledge, that street religion, that street spirituality that was based on art. They tried to diss it. Don't make no graven images. Here's graven. The first part of graven is dignity. Here's 3, an important degree, seriously. Like, to take something seriously is to take it gravenly. I take it seriously. So what does it mean? Thou shalt not make unto thee any serious image or likeness of anything, any serious image, any image of dignity, any image of importance. Look how they're killing your spirit. Here's the word graven. What does graven mean? Sculptured, hewn. That's what graven means, sculptured, okay? A graven image. Here's the word here, the actual, a graven image. Graven is sculptured, hewn. Now, who were they fighting against? Who were these people fighting against? They were fighting against artists. Who were the artists? Cushites, Ethiopians, Egyptians. Look at Egypt. You see those magnificent sculptures in Egypt? They said that's evil. They said the pyramid is evil. The Sphinx is evil. The Colossi of Memnon, or Amenhotep III and Queen T, evil. All the pictures of Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti, evil. According to this. Here's your second definition of graven down here. Carved on a surface, engraved. Writing is carved on the surface. It says carved on the surface. Those are the tablets. Now look at the contradiction. I just want you to see, because this is why, we MCs, so we get down with these words. Wasn't the according to the legend, wasn't the 10 Commandments written? Wasn't the 10 Commandments carved on a surface, engraved? Okay, look at the contradiction here. The actual 10 Commandments is an engraven image. But if you don't do the study, they got your mind. Let's go forward, y'all. In this context, any ancient, again, I'm talking about the Christian faith now. I separated hip-hop is over here. We the artists. We the pyramid builders. We the ones who sculpture in the Sphinx and all the great monuments you see out in Egypt and Kush. That's us. The people that invaded us were eventually called Jews, Christians, and Muslims. And this is why they are approaching us like this. And even later on, it's the Christian church. It's really the Pope, Vatican, who then takes all of these thoughts and manipulate them into what they need. In this context, any ancient image of any holy figure, icon, that is visible to us today was indeed illegal and immoral to many of the people of the ancient times, including many Orthodox Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Jesus and his disciples would have been outraged to see images of themselves or God or depictions of heaven in paintings and sculptures. Early Jews would have never made images of themselves because they believed that it violated the second commandment. And Jesus, Yeshua, as well as his students, were devout Jews. So Jesus would have not have made that image I showed you earlier of Jesus, the image of Jesus on Life magazine. That's a crime in their culture. It's not a crime in hip hop, but it is a crime in their culture. According to Christians, you're not supposed to make an image of Jesus. It is when Christianity goes mainstream in the 4th century that some Christians put aside such old ways to assimilate into the new mainstream Christian society of the 4th century. Tales of miracle healings and other wants of the average person being miraculously achieved with the help of iconic images led to the demand for them. In addition, when Christianity had become the official religion of the Roman Empire in the 4th century, those that were illiterate yet wanted to learn of the risen Christ caused the creation of paintings, sculpted images, and other iconic figures to be produced for inspiration and for teaching purposes at first. Take a look here. This is one of the earliest depictions of Jesus the Christ. We'll say, yeah, that's right. That's what Jesus would have been. When you get down with your hip hop knowledge, you realize that ain't what Jesus looked like. Because Jesus would have never made an image of himself. We don't know what Jesus looked like, and Jesus wanted it that way. This is one of the earliest depictions, though, of Jesus in an icon. Even though everyone in the ancient world, excuse me, even though everyone in the ancient world knew that justice was a principle to teach, even though everyone in the ancient world knew that justice was a principle to teach justice, this principle was depicted as a blindfolded woman balancing scales. Let me get a water real quick. And y'all could read the next piece for yourself. Even though everyone in the ancient world knew that war was an experience, in an effort to teach the deeper lessons regarding the principles and character of war and the warrior, Greek teachers began to personify war as the goddess Diana. I got one. Thank you. You know what's happening? The fan is drying me out. Maybe I should give it a break. Let's continue with this. I want you to understand this. I'm going to read it again. Even though everyone in the ancient world knew that justice was a principle, you understand? Justice is a principle. To teach justice, this principle was depicted as a blindfolded woman balancing scales. That's a crime, according to Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Even though everyone in the ancient world knew that war was an experience in an effort to teach the deeper lessons regarding the principles and character of war and the warrior, Greek teachers began to personify war as the goddess Diana, Wonder Woman. Other Greeks would personify the principles of wisdom as the goddess Sophia, and so on. After a while, almost every human emotion, every principle, and every divine force was being personified in some way, humanized in some way. By the time we get to the 2nd century, Christ and other principles are being depicted as human beings, along with doves, goats, trees, etc., to which to the untrained eye look like a simple painting depicting a scene. But to the trained eye, aware of the fact that the dove, the goats, and the trees represented certain forces of nature, even divine principles, they are able to receive a deeper understanding of the subject being presented as art. This is the early way in which the Christian church used to teach. Everything they kept to themselves, they told you, you can't have. Imagine all of Christianity, the foundations of Christianity and Judaism. The foundations of Christianity and Judaism is Egyptian, Kemetic. And when you go to Egyptian culture, that's all art. That's all graven image, that's all art. The temple walls, everything, all art, all depicting divinity, heaven, the universe, everything, all in art. They took that and then told you, don't make no more art. They got the art, but they tell you, don't make no art. Don't make no graven images. By the time I'm going again, okay. Well, actually, I don't need to go again. We go here. Right around the same time that the Christian saints and Christ are being personified in sculptures and paintings around the 2nd century to 3rd century, so is the Buddha, as well as many Hindu gods as well, are being presented in similar fashion when they too were never depicted in human form. You see? And try to understand what's going on here. Try to understand what's going on here, okay? You're dealing with different cultures and different ideologies. This culture and this ideology says, you're not supposed to make any images of any of these divine people. Another culture says that's exactly what you're supposed to do. But the culture that said that's exactly what you're supposed to do is the one that was killed by these people. And the word is killed. No other word. We were not out debated. They didn't come with some holiness. They came with the gun. They came with spear and knife. And the true prophets who would never be a warrior, the true prophets, were killed or exiled. Most of them were exiled. You know, thrown out of their land by these same people. And you see, and notice the dates, 2nd and 3rd century. This is when it starts. Between the 2nd and 3rd centuries, Buddha gets depicted as a person, Krishna gets depicted, Brahma, Shiva, all these arms and all this stuff. That was never supposed to be, according to them, according to Jews, Christians, and Muslims. But yet, the knowledge of their religion comes from all artists who did all of this. So you can see what's going on. Invade these holy people, steal their birthright, and then tell their children and your own community, don't do what they did. So we maintain the power. If there should not be any if we should not make any engraven images in Christianity, what is all of these images of Christ on the cross? What is all these images of Mary holding Jesus? What are all these images? They just said it is a sin in their religion to do this, yet they're doing it. This is how you have to see the invisible. Okay? These changes, however, were immoral and illegal according to the times in which they were occurring. This is what makes the Sistine Chapel painted by Michelangelo one of the most outrageous crimes of the ancient world. Here it is. This is crime. Right in your face, right here. I'm looking here. Make sure y'all get it. Okay. Crime. I'm going to leave crime up for a minute. Let's take a look at crime. Why is this a crime? Well, depicting God as a white man in the sky while also depicting the angels and events of heaven in visual imagery was and still is a direct violation of the 2nd commandment and would have been regarded as among the most spiritually deprived things one could do in ancient times. Now, keep in mind that there's another group that I would call hip hoppers that would do this. This is graffiti art. We don't see no problem with it. But if you're going to live the Christian, Jewish, Muslim theology, this is a crime. And I got to show you both ways. I'm showing you the visible and the invisible. The visible is, here it is. The invisible is, that's a crime. Upon closer observation of the Sistine Chapel's paintings, one can begin to interpret an alternative view, okay? Even a deeper meaning to the simple images on the ceiling and walls. Now, let me also remind you of this as well, that I was at the Vatican. I took this picture at the Vatican. It doesn't look that good. It's my little messed up camera. But I was at the Vatican in Rome, in Italy. We all went, my family, we was all in the Vatican. And all they have in the Vatican is Egyptian art, Egyptian gods, everything pharaoh, all black people stuff in the Vatican. All Africa in the Vatican. Sculptured paintings, huge paintings and sculptured figures standing, pharaohs standing. What is a pharaoh doing at the Vatican? What is the obelisk doing at the Vatican? It's not their culture. So why is it there? When you go there to the Vatican, you get the truth, though. The truth of the matter is that they stole the stuff and brought it to the Vatican because they knew that had the spiritual power. This is why you can't make an engraven image, because it has spiritual power. Anything you put your body into, your mind into, you empower it. They know that. That's why the Vatican has all the engraven images, but you can't make them. So take a look at this real quick. Looking at this image of Adam and God, that's what this is. This is God and this is Adam. Now, didn't it just say don't make no images of God? He is God, okay? And this is why we think God is a white man in the sky, okay? This is the image. Looking at the image of Adam and God, we can see how Michelangelo is interpreting God as the mind, here drawn as the brain. Do you see this? Do you see this? Let me hit you again. Do you see the brain? Look, I'm superimposing a brain on top. Okay, do you see this? Here you go, hold up, let me bring you back. See it? Now I'm gonna do it again. See that? And I really should have an invisible one. I don't, my production is not, this is me doing it, but you should get the point. Look what I want to show you. Look at the brain. Even the brain stem. Okay? This is the cerebral, the frontal lobe. Sorry, it's the frontal lobe. Go to the frontal lobe. Just want you to see this, okay? Look at God's hand. Look at the frontal lobe. This is the seat of creativity. This frontal lobe is your third eye. This is the seat of your God self right here, at least even symbolized. But in the actual brain, they know that that's what it really is. Take a look. Here, this is what this painting is. And by the way, that's what the Vatican teaches. I got this knowledge from the Vatican. So they know, what are we looking at? The average person is going to look and say, oh, there's God and man. And when you go to the Vatican, you say, no, this is Adam and God. And when you look at it, the Vatican will tell you straight up what Michelangelo was trying to say is that God is the mind. God is the mind. This is Michelangelo pushing. And this is why you can't make no engraven images. Because we can't control your mind. If you can see a picture, you may start thinking differently, like I'm showing you right now. Let me hit you with the brain one more time. You see the outline of this? You see where the hand is coming out of? Hit it. Boom. That's the actual brain. Look at the hand popping out. Okay, let's go forward. The message being that God dwells in your mind, which is outside of your physical body. In fact, God is mind beyond the physical body. This is what Michelangelo was pushing. This is why Michelangelo and the Pope had such a problem. Michelangelo was a rebel, renegade. He wanted to let the people know what was really going on, and he couldn't. So he put it in art. Everyone knows this story too, by the way. So he put it in art. Okay? God is mind, beyond the physical body. So your brain is in your body, in your head, but your mind is in your environment. It is the mirror of the physical you. It does what you do, and in turn, you do what it does. While you seek it, it seeks you. While you reach for it, it reaches for you. Looking closely at Michelangelo's depiction of Adam and God, we can see that God's environment is the mind, which here is basically doing what Adam is doing, reaching out. Do you see this? Do you see this? The same thing Adam doing, God doing. The same hands, reach. Whatever Adam does, God gonna do. And whatever God do, Adam gonna do. So whatever you do, your divinity gonna do. And whatever your divinity is doing, you're gonna do. That's what this is. The mind is not in your brain. Your mind is in your environment. The brain is in your head, but your mind is in your environment. Your environment is your mind. I mean, try to deal with that for a minute. You know, hit that air again. Try to deal with that for a hot minute. Just try to deal with that. The fact that your mind is here. And this is the realm of God, the realm of your mind, okay? So what you do, what you reach for, God reaches for. If you never reach for God, God never reaches for you. I got a drink on that. I need a drink. I need a drink. The idea here is that when you start reaching for your divinity starts reaching for you. And the faster you move to your divinity, the faster divinity is moving toward you. Looking closely at Michelangelo's description of Adam and God, we can see that God's environment is the mind, which here is basically doing what Adam is doing, reaching out. But in 1512, when the Sistine Chapel was completed by Michelangelo, such knowledge was highly secret and highly guarded. Knowledge of one's mental capabilities is what separated the lords, the elite, from the commoners, the serfs. Now, you remember last week, we talked about the Lord, and we broke down the etymology of the word Lord, which was basically breadward. That's the literal etymology of the word Lord. Anyone giving you your bread is your Lord. And so when we hear these words, Lord and so on, that was the elite. And what made them elite? They had this knowledge. They knew that they could use their mind to control the masses and control the masses' mind. Okay? It must always be remembered that with all due respect to the modern day church, and I mean that with all due respect, the church of the past never wanted the average person, the commoner, to have any direct knowledge of God, nor did the early church ever intend for the world to have direct access to the pages of the Bible. The Bible during this time was read in Latin and then interpreted to the masses by certain Latin, French, and English-speaking church fathers. This is how the Bible went down, okay? It was John Wycliffe with others in 1380 that began translating and overseeing the creation of the first English Bible from the Latin Vulgate, which is another Bible. The Romans translated from the Greek from Aramaic and all this stuff. It says, overseeing the creation of the first English Bible from the Latin Vulgate and other sources. This action, however, outraged the church. Now think about this. Today we associate the Bible with the church. But in the early days, The church had the Bible to themselves and they didn't want nobody reading it because it dealt with the mind. We still don't have the original Bible. Every Bible you pick up is going to be somebody's version of it. Notice that. There's nothing that says the Holy Bible with no author on it. There's no Bible like that because it doesn't exist. Every Holy Bible is a version. So try to realize what's going on. This is John Wycliffe, okay, 1380. He started writing his Bible, or actually finished up one of them. And try to realize what's going on here. The church is fighting against divinity. The church is fighting against people knowing the word of God for themselves. Because if you knew the word of God for yourself, you wouldn't give them the authority. From that time forward, the church and other organizations have made great efforts to conceal older, alternative interpretations of God's word from the public on the grounds that the average person was simply unworthy of such knowledge. And most were. This is divine knowledge. This is the Bible is high knowledge. Even if you can get somebody's version of it, it's still high knowledge. But if you can get the originals, if you can read the Bible in Aramaic, if you can read the Bible in even the Greek or the Latin, you're getting a better version than any English version. Now, Wycliffe's version is the first time the Bible gets translated from Latin and other sources into English. And keep in mind, the reason I bring this up is because I'm showing you early hip hoppers. Michelangelo was hip hop. I know y'all laughing, but Michelangelo was hip hop. This dude right here is hip hop. The feeling, the need to get the truth to the people, the intelligent movement. That's what they represented. And if you don't know their stories, you really don't know what you read. Honestly, you really don't even know what you read. Okay? However, in an effort to still get such knowledge to those that really needed to know, authors like John Wycliffe wrote in specific ways that his 1380 English audience might understand and be enlightened by. All of this is important to our study because too often we tend to apply our modern understanding of words to the past and miss the whole point as to what was being expressed at the time in the past. In the 14th century, English was spoken and written differently than it is spoken and written today. Old English is not modern English. And the earliest Bibles were translated first into Old English. Therefore, in order to really read and comprehend how Wycliffe was interpreting the word of God in his time, we have to consult dictionaries that give the etymologies and the meaning of the words used in his time. These dictionaries are right here. Now that's the one that would be used in his time. That's the Oxford English Dictionary. You guys know we work with that. This is the American Heritage just for our modern day, okay? Just to compare the modern to the old, okay? But then this is also American Heritage Dictionary. We work with this as well. But here's the English Hexapla, which is also right here. But this is the English Hexapla. Now, why do I bring the Hexapla? I want you to keep your mind on the Oxford English about Old English and what Old English was about. Now, let me bring you to the Hexapla. What is the Hexapla? The Hexapla is, the reason it's called Hexapla is because it has 6 versions of the Bible. When you open the book, this is the book open, okay? This is open, and I have it open to John chapter 1, because that's what we're going to look at today. It's opened up here, okay? Now, part of this knowledge I'm about to give to you is in a presentation called God's Son, which is a book that I'm writing now. It's going to come out in about maybe 6 more months, 7 months, I'll be finished with it. Matter of fact, as I take my break in March, I'll get a lot of the work done. But I'm bringing this up because some of you who were with us last year and so on, especially people like Ministers in the Room, who's been studying with me for a minute, knows this. You've seen the Hexapla before, and you know about God's Son. I'm about to drop that God's Son on you. Okay? So here we have, this is the Hexapla. And like I said, why is it called Hexapla? Because there are six Bibles. Why is the 6 Bibles up here? I want you to see that here's Wycliffe, 1380. William Tyndale, 1534. Cranmere, 1539. The Geneva Bible, 1557. The Rains Bible, 1582. And the Authorized King James Bible of 1611. This Authorized King James Bible is the only Bible anybody got. This is the most widely distributed Bible in the Western world. Europe, America, and everywhere they've colonized. This is the Bible that everyone's reading. But as you can see, there were 5 other versions to the Bible before this one. And I'm not going to get into it here, but as you go deeper into the slave trade, the word of God changes to justify. Come on now, what is the word of God really? What is it really? If it can change over time according to the political whims of those who raped and killed your parents and your ancestors. That's why we go to the Hexapla. On top is the Greek. This is the Greek. And these are the this is the translation. And from Wycliffe, they're all getting theirs. Some of them, like the Geneva, they take it from other sources as well. Same thing with King James. They tried to put all of these versions together to get something out of it. But what I want to show you and focus on is Wycliffe and King James. I want to show you this. Here's Wycliffe. That's the first English Bible written. The first one from the Vulgate and the Greek. Right here. And here's the last one. The one that we all get and we all know. Now, keep that in mind. In the past, those with knowledge, like the church, held power, and they would dole out such knowing gradually by giving only partial information to their students. This is an important theological understanding pertaining to the actual writing styles of the 1300s, where one story or painting or sculpture could be read in several ways according to the education of the reader. So here now, we have this again. I'll bring it up again, but now I'm just chopping it off here. Let's just deal with this right now. Okay? Certain keywords and key cultural phrases, even certain characters themselves in the story, reveal deeper truth than simply reading the story literally. It was not the same as lying to people or depriving people of much needed information. It was more about not telling people the whole story. Or in the Bible's case, not revealing the full definitions and meanings of words in the context and time of the writer or speaker or artist. So it's like today, and we say today in our modern interpretation, if somebody punch you in the face or do something bad to you, give them the other two. Don't fight back. Don't let people abuse you. That's not what we thought back then. If you look at the Aramaic culture, not just the word, but the breeze blow, okay? If you look at the culture, turn the other cheek is an Aramaic idiom for don't start problems, don't start arguments, don't be so quick to start an argument. That's all it meant. Nothing to do with somebody hit you, you can't defend yourself. It's Christ-like to allow people to abuse you. That's what they're trying to do to us. It's Christ-like to let somebody abuse you. Turn the other cheek. If they slap you on this cheek, give them the other cheek. If they take your coat, give them your shoes. That's a thief. A colonist wants you to act like that. Come in, take your land, don't fight back. But that's not what was actually said or implied. What was implied was don't be so quick to start an argument. Turn the other cheek. If somebody talking nonsense, turn the other cheek. That's what it meant. Here now, Wycliffe. Look at this. I'm over here. Okay, I'm down here with Wycliffe. Okay, Wycliffe, 1380. We're at John chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word. Y'all heard that, right? But here's what you didn't hear. In the beginning was the Word. Oh, let me do this right. In the beginning was the Word. Beginning is not beginning. It can be. The beginning is in its definition, but beginning is just, it doesn't just mean beginning. We're dealing with Old English. In the beginning, I can't even say that, was the Word, and the Word was at God. Huh? And God was the Word. This was in the beginning at God. Alle things weren't made by him, meaning all things were made by him, but that's not what's being said. What is said is alle things weren't made by him. And look at the him, H-Y-M. Now, of course, when you look up the word him, H-Y-M, H-I-M is in its definition as well. You can spell him like man, H-Y-M, but H-Y-M is not the only, H-Y-M is man is not the only definition of H-Y-M. The first definition of H-Y-M is sound, a hum, a hymn, a song. That's the first definition of him. Now, the reason we bring this up is because we asked, and let me hit you with this. All things weren't made be him. And without him was made no thing. That thing that was made in him. What? Hold up. Here's him, but here's him. Why is Wycliffe using these two hymns? If this hymn meant man, why would you have this hymn? We're reading the text straight up and down. We're reading the text. You can see in this beginning that Wycliffe is using two hymns. He's using H-Y-M and he's using H-I-M. This is fresh out the book. H-Y-M is a song, a sound. H-I-M is a person. So look at this. Everything is, all things were made by him. Sound, song, speech, word. All things were made by him. And without them, the him, without the him was made no thing. That thing that was made in him, now this him is in him. That thing that was made in him was lief, L-I-I-F, and the lief was the licht of men, and the licht shineth in the darknesses, and the darknesses comprehended then not it. Did you hear that? Let's go over it again. Everything is where is made by him, the sound, the song, and without him the hymn was made no thing. But that thing that was made in him was life. Now that's not life. Life is spelled L-I-F-E. That's how you spell life, even in Old English. What is L-I-I-F? That's not life. And the leave, or whatever this word is, was the licht. That's not light. That's licht of men. And the licht which shines in the darknesses. Now, I want to show you something, okay? Now let's compare the modern King James Version of the Bible to Wycliffe. Okay? Let me read Wycliffe to you one more time. Okay? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was at God. Now come over here to the Authorized King James. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Whoa, what happened? And the Word was God. Hold up. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was at God. And God was the Word. This was the beginning at God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. Nothing here said the same was in the beginning. Where did that come from? The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him. Notice that him is gone now. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. That's not what was said. It said all things were made by him, and without him was made no thing. That thing that was made in him was life. What's over here? All things that were made by him, all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Two entirely different sentences. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. These are two different things being said, which is the word of God. Now keep in mind that this group was outraged by his writings. Wycliffe, when he translated the English Bible, the church was after him. In fact, his students, William Tyndale and Miles Coverdale, others, they were actually killed by the church for writing the Bible. Imagine, today you associate the Bible with the church. But back in their times, the Bible was only for the church. And these guys came out and said, nah, everybody should know the word of God. So they had knowledge of Latin, knowledge of Greek, knowledge of the other scriptures that these people were trying to kill and destroy. And they wrote the first English Bible, but Wycliffe, he had to run for his life after he wrote this. And then he died of a heart attack. Some say that the Christian fathers caused it. He died of a heart attack. And even years later, they dug up his bones and burned them again. Then threw him back in the ground. They hated Wycliffe, the church. The people that wrote this hated him. So you can see why they changed it. Wycliffe is telling you that there was a hymn, a sound, some sort of a song that was creating things. And the thing that was created in a man was life. And let me also say this, that L-I-I-F is not life, it's energy. But you have to wait for my book to come out to really get the rest of that. I'm not dealing with this right now, but I'll break down every single one of these words in the book. And when you see the breakdown, it has nothing to do with what we read in the modern King James Version. Let me take you further. I'm going to give you another example, okay? I want you to come down here and see this part down here, okay? I want you to see, this is one more example of how this knowledge is getting taken from us and changed. No man say ever God. No, but the unbegotten Son that is in the bosom of the Father, he hath tilled out. Here's the modern version. No man hath seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared it. Now, take a look at these two sentences. No man say ever God. No, but the unbegotten Son that is in the bosom of the Father, he hath tilled out. No man hath seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. Now these words are different for a reason. Unbegotten Son is not only begotten Son. Let's go into this. Here's say, we say, no man, I will show you this. Okay, this is the word we focus on. It says here, no man say ever God. Not no man hath seen God at any time. It says, no man say ever God. Go back to the word, the sound, the hymn. No man say ever God. Now it says, no man hath seen God. Why does it say that? That's why I bring you here. Here's the word say. First, it's a bird. We don't need that. A Brazilian, South American monkey. We don't need that. Okay? Here's what we need. Say. Obsolete form of say. You see the first definition of it? It's say. Then it says obsolete particle tense of see. This is the scholarship right here. This is out the book. This is English etymology. This is what it is. That word say, no man say ever God. The word say is here in Old English. And what does say mean? It's an obsolete form of say, S-A-Y, to speak. But what the King James did was give you the second definition, which is an obsolete past particle tense of. Like some craziness that has nothing to do with the original word. So keep this in mind. Okay? Say. Okay? Let's go further. Here's Okay? Here's Okay? What we're looking at is begetun song. And the first thing I just looked at is no man say ever God. Now we hear it, no man has seen God. That's the lie. The original was no man has ever said God. God is a word, a tone, a frequency, a sound that no man has ever said. Okay, it's a divine sound that you pick up. Now, that word begetun song is what we're going to deal with, because that's what they're saying the Christ is. Okay, the only begotten Son. The original is begetun song. Now here's Here's obsolete form of on, one, own, and a dialect of other. Okay, but here's okay? Is one. Okay? Is one. And everybody knows also in Old English that is one. Is the ancient meaning of one. Everybody know that. Okay? What is one? Does anything here say only? There's no only here. It's one. It's own. It's oven. No only. Now, that the church did is say that means own. Don't mean own. Means one. But it can also mean own. So what they did was keep the original definitions to themselves and give you the second definition. So here's as one. Okay, let's keep going. Here's begetun. Okay, begetun is not begotten. Begotten means to procreate. Begetun, as you can see here, and here's all the variations of it. This is how the English is spelling it, begetten. And it's the same thing, begetun. This is what that word is. Here it is here, actually. Begotten. You can see that begetun is also begotten, but begetun means to pour out, to pour about or over, to suffuse. Okay? That's what begetun means. It means to pour up, to pour about or over. To begetun something is to pour something over. It has nothing to do with procreation. Let's just keep it real. Here's begotten. Okay, if you could see this as well, blow it up on the screen so they can see it real quick. Just take a quick look at it. I want you to see this. I'm a little blurry here on this particular one, but you can see it. Look at begotten and look at definition 1. Okay, And it's, as a matter of fact, it don't even have a real definition on definition one. If you read it, you can see they're going through the etymologies of it, and they're saying it's all obsolete. We're not even using it. What we really, and also, bring me out real quick. I want you to see this word here, begetun. Begetun is part of the etymology of begotten, meaning that begetun came first. But we saw the begetun means to pour out. It also means, I should say, to pour out. It also is part of the etymology of begotten. It is, but it's not the only meaning, and it's not the first meaning. The first meaning is to pour out, to suffuse. Here's begotten, here's the second definition, procreated. What's the first definition? The first definition is dealing with begetun. That's the first definition of begotten. It deals with begetun. Okay, beget, and all of that. Here's the second definition of begotten, means procreated. And look at how it says, procreated, usually with only and first. See how they did that? See how they did that? Un begetun son is now only begotten son. And they're the ones putting the etymology together. They're the ones doing it. So they get to switch things around, give you second definitions as opposed to first definitions. They get to change words, make you think it's life when it's leaf, make you think it's light when it's lit. This is what we are dealing with. So we did un, begetun. Now let's deal with son. Here's the word son. So you say only begotten son, right? So the only begotten son, here's the etymologies of all of where this word son, the other words that make up this word son, here's the etymologies all at the top. You see this word here, son, right? You see son here? That is not son. Here's son, S-O-N-N-E, that we know to be son. The word son is not son. Un begetun son is not only begotten son. That's not what it is. The etymology doesn't line up. Okay, so we start here. Okay, this is son, as we all know it. Okay, here's son. Son, to conceive a son. Okay, son, to conceive a son. Obsolete, but that's what a son is. To act or behave as a son. And that's also son. And the reason I'm using this definition is because these are the old English definitions. That's why they have the cross up next to the one. They're obsolete. These are old English definitions. But I want you to see something just above this. Do you see the word son? Look above the word son, and it says obsolete form of sound. So again, what are we talking about? We're talking about how the church is trying to hide the truth. And what they're doing is they're not lying. What they're doing is giving you second definitions, not the first ones. And if you really want to see the word of God, you got to deal with the first definitions, at least the word of God from the Bible's point of view. You got to deal with first definitions, not just the second, third, and fourth definitions, or the sixth version of the Bible, King James. You got to go back to the beginning. So we see here, son, obsolete form of sound. Huh? Now come down here. Okay? Sonable. Okay? Sonibolous. From sonir to sound. You see how it's starting to come together? The hymn that was in him was a sound, a frequency. So the un begetun son. Okay, matter of fact, let me bring you here. Here's son. Here's the word son, S-O-N-E. And Wycliffe used S-O-N-E Wycliffe did not use S-O-N-N-E. That is son. He didn't use son. He used sown. So the word sown is sound. Here's sown again, okay? Sowing various of sun, soon, sound, and sun. And it says sonin day, obsolete form of Sunday, today. So what was Sunday? Sound day. The day where you got this frequency in you. The day that this vibration, on Sunday you were supposed to resonate with God. Resonate with God. Resonate with God. What does it mean to resonate? It means that when something hits you, or when something is hit, it gives off a sound. And it usually gives off the same sound as what is hitting it. So when God hits you, do you resonate the sound of God back? This was the original intent of the song. The song, as you can see, is sound. That's not a sun. It's sown, it's sound. So sown, sun, Sunday, Sunday, sonin day. Look at this. Look at the original meanings of these words. Now, look at what I'm dealing with here, okay? Here's Give them the full screen so they can get their head cracked right now, okay? Here's is one, okay? Here's begetun. Begetun is spread out or poured out. That's what begetun is, not begotten. Begetun is spread out or poured out. Sown. What is sown? Sound. So what is the only begotten son? The only begotten son is the one spread out sound. The begetun son. Let them see it real quick. Bring me in, someone, so I can see it. It goes like this. One, begetun, son. That's what Wycliffe said. Wycliffe, in the first translation of the Bible, did not say only begotten son. He said, begetun son. Begetun son is one spread out or poured out sound. Implying that a word can only mean one thing was the beginning of many people interpreting their spiritual life in only one way. It was a form of control. By taking a word with maybe three meanings and only teaching one of those meanings as the sole intent of whatever was being taught, the teacher could then set up multiple levels of learning using one curriculum for one set of students and another curriculum for another set of students, while still using the same words and the same stories in the same book. So they would come with the same Bible and they would teach the public one thing and then take the same Bible and go back in their secret place and teach the same lesson from a different perspective, the deeper perspective, the first perspective. Most English words have these multiple meanings. Therefore, most stories told in English can also have multiple meanings based upon the vocabulary or cultural literacy of the reader or listener. This is very important in regards to Bible study because the Bible is written, or rather presented, in this bit by bit, stage by stage way. And for many centuries, the church and other religious institutions have not told the whole story regarding the word of God, nor have they promoted what other enlightened minds have discovered regarding God's word. As I often teach, the more words you know, the more things you can see. And the more meanings to such words that you know, the deeper you can go with what you can see. The solution here is to know the whole definition of certain key words in the Bible, in an effort to know the whole story that is being told by the authors that the church went out of their way to suppress. Most people associate the term Christ with the term Savior, but these are not the same. Several dictionaries, including the Oxford English Dictionary, also defines Christ as Messiah as the same. Defines Christ and Messiah as the same. But the truth is that the Christ originally had to do with the resurrection of the pure in heart, while the Messiah originally had to do with the anointed or appointed Savior of the Jewish people. See how they stealing us? See how they stealing our stuff? And just making words and we're just going along with it. Messiah, from the word masha, meaning to anoint, is a Semitic Hebrew word. Christ, K-R-S-T, is a Kemetic Egyptian word. The Jewish Messiah can be given the title of Christ by the Jewish people, but the experience of the Christ, or this is called the Christ, is much older and much more related to resurrection than it is related to a savior of a people. See, they took our holy names, our birthrights, and applied it to their culture. They saw the power in what we were dealing with, and they took it and put it in their culture so that they could fight Rome. Now, I want you to hear this as well. These are all black people. This is all Africans. This is one sect of Africans stealing from another sect of Africans. Okay? The original Jews before 70 AD were mostly black Africans. So you got these black Africans who can't really do art, who can't really draw, who can't really spit rhymes, who can't really break. We got them running around today, don't we? You got these other Africans talking about, you shouldn't, I don't want to call nobody out right now, but I'm just saying, you use your own imagination, because the same story that's being told here is being told in your life right now. Those of us who originated the arts, those of us that originated MC, breaking, craft, DJ, you got these other Africans going, let me steal that for myself, tell other people, nah, you shouldn't do that. Just listen to me. I'm going to give this to you. Listen to me, and I'm going to hit you with this hip hop. And just, it's about me. But you stole that style from the originals. And now you're telling your people they can't MC no more. They shouldn't DJ no more. They can't do graph no more. They can't break no more. Only you can do that because it's of God. And you're not lying. You did get it from God. But God is not a man in the sky. God was some black folk up in the mountains of Ethiopia. So when you did go to God, you went to God, got this knowledge, and came back and gave it to your people. This is why Jesus can be called Christ. It is because the concept and title of Christ existed long before Jesus, as well as the word Messiah was born. The original Christ, spelled as K-R-S-T, was about resurrection from the dead. Here, Jesus can be called Christ because he was believed to have risen from the dead. He resurrected. So they call him Christ. But you can't call somebody something that didn't already exist. To be called Christ means Christ already existed, and you was given the title. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, and I have this as well, but I just wanted to put it up like this. I don't want to, bring another Oxford clip out up here, but this is exactly what the Oxford English is saying. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, the Hebrew Messias was used in John chapter 1, verse 41, and John chapter 4, verse 25. The only passages in which the word is found in Greek or in the Latin New Testament. So this word Messiahs only appears twice in the old versions of the Bible. In the Greek and in the Latin, it only appears twice. By Wycliffe, using John, by Wycliffe after the Latin Vulgate. because Wycliffe is using the Latin Vulgate. Wycliffe is getting his knowledge from the Latin Vulgate, which is a Roman version of the Bible, which has some other stories to it as well. And by later translations from 1526 to 1611, directly after the Greek. Okay, that's what that is. The form Messiah invented. You hear this? And I really, I was going to bring put the Oxford in here, but I was rushing and making it go. And I also wanted you to see it like this. I didn't want to put the other one up there. I want you to be able to take it with you, and you guys should be taking pictures of the screen too. If you want this, just take pictures of the screen. Like we always say, if you like this information, contact someone. The form Messiah, invented by the translators of the Geneva Bible of 1560. I just showed you them in the Hexapla. It was invented by the Geneva Bible of 1560. Is an alteration of the traditional Messias, intended to get it can add some sort of authority to the words they're bringing in the Bible. I want you to see this. The form Messiah is an invention of the people who wrote the Geneva Bible. God didn't write no Geneva Bible. White men did. I'm going to say that again. God did not write a Geneva Bible. White men did. And they said that we're going to take the Messiahs and apply it to our new invented word, Messiah. We're just going to take the meaning of this and apply it to this. That's how they're stealing. They're taking our birthright. They're taking our culture. Okay? Here we can see that the word Messiah from Messiahs is a fairly new word, 1560. And it is this tinkering with certain key words in the Bible, especially between the 1300s onto the 1600s, that hides what certain Bible translators were trying to convey but couldn't say or write openly. The word sown becomes obsolete when it became the word sound, or sound, S-O-U-N, and got a D added to it in the 16th century, making it sound. That's how sown becomes sound in English language. Before the 16th century, the word sound was pronounced and recognized as son, solve, solven, sound, sown, sound, sound, sounded, and sown. Although obsolete in the Oxford English Dictionary, the word sown does still appear in the American Heritage Dictionary of the English language as sown, meaning a subjective unit of loudness as perceived by a person with normal hearing, equaling to the loudness of a pure tone, having a frequency of 10,000 hertz at 40 decibels. Nothing about a son. This is saying nothing about a child. A sown, and this is up to this day. That's why we have the American Heritage Dictionary out now. Okay? We saw sown in Old English is sound. And we saw that Wycliffe is using sown, not son. So what is sown now in modern day English? A subjective unit of loudness as perceived by a person with normal hearing equal to the loudness of a pure tone having a frequency of 1,000 hertz at 40 decibels. Latin, sonus, a sound. So now, matter of fact, let me take a break here. And come back on this because we dealt with super last year. We dealt with super last week. And in actuality, I'm going to deal with that right now because I'm going to get into divinity. I want you to contemplate this real quick. Contemplate the idea that what we are thinking is the word of God is not. What we are perceiving as Christ is not. This image that Life magazine puts out as who do you say I am? And there's a white man, young white man standing there as Jesus, as the Christ. This is really criminal. It was criminal in Jesus's time and with Jesus's with his people, with his law, and it's criminal because they stole. It's like thieves stealing from thieves, and we never get to see our original culture. So I want you to contemplate while we take this second break. The unbegotten Son is not the only begotten Son. You are the unbegotten Son. Let's take a break. Yeah. So we're back now. I hope you guys are realizing who you are. I'm exposing certain things so that you can see who you are. You are the unbegotten Son. Not the only begotten Son, the one spread out sound, the hymn that gives you life, the Om, the vibrational tone that heals the entire body and keeps it upright. That's what you are. So now I bring this here to super. I'm going to go quick because we went through this last week, but I want to bring you to divinity and close this out now. So super is what? Above, on the top of, beyond, besides. That's what super means. Over, above. This is super. Here's some more super, okay? Over, above, at the top of, on, upon. This is what super is, to be super. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because when most people think of God or divinity, they get the pictures that Life magazine's pushing on. When people think of God and spirituality, we start thinking of angels with wings and clouds and men with glowing faces, and all of that is fantasy. When you get down to what it really, really is, spirituality is very practical, very simple, and always right in your face. But you got to be able to see the invisible by looking at the visible. You have to see what the visible really is. You got to see the energy and the forces that are surrounding the invisible. Now, what I mentioned earlier was that it was a little complicated, but I'm just going to go over real quick with you one more time. You're dealing with thieves robbing thieves. The first people of God, what we call hip-hoppers, hip-hoppians, the first people of God, the first people of the intelligent movement, not even the word God, before the word God, before the word Christ, before all of that, when it was just intelligence movement, hip-hopping. When we go all the way back to that, you begin to realize that these original hip-hoppians are artists. They don't have time for war. They're not running around killing animals either. They're not invading people's spaces. The original people of God, the first philosophers, the first astronomers, agriculturalists, you know, these type of people. There's a character that goes with that. And that character is the divinity that puts you to the stars, puts you to the ground, makes the weaving, sculptures the pieces. So everything that Western colonialism is saying you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't be that, you shouldn't say that, is exactly what they're doing, being, and saying, and preventing you from taking part in your own birthright. That's what I'm explaining here. And the explanation is that we, hip-hop, come from the first artists. That's why we artists today. That's why we do what we do today, because we come from that. We are the latest versions of the ancient artists. The latest versions. We're the modern versions of some ancient art. But our ancestors were invaded and robbed. And their pieces, they shattered our community and tore up our books. And what you have now, you look at the Dead Sea Scrolls, you look at all the versions of the Bible, you look at all this, what they're dealing with. They're not dealing with one text that says this text was written by Jesus. This text was written by Moses. This text was written by, none of them texts was written by none of them. We don't even know if those people even existed. But we know that our community existed because we know there were actual writings. And what they're getting now as the writing is in fragments and broken up stuff. Everything you see of our ancient civilization is in fragments and tore up and broken up. And you got to ask yourself, why is that stuff broken up? Who broke it? Who tore up all the pages? Well, why would you go to the Bible, to theology, I should say, and you're digging up the original Bible? You know, you can go to any of these shows. You know, after you listen to me, go look at the Dead Sea Scrolls. Just go look at a program on the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you'll see the scientists sitting there with fragments. Okay, they piecing fragments together. Okay, that's the visible. That's the tree. Now, where's the wind? Who ripped that up? When you go to Kush, you see our pyramids destroyed. Who did that? You go to the Sphinx, the nose is missing and there's bullet holes all in the face. Who did that? When you go to the pyramids of Giza, if you're a tourist and you go to the pyramids at Giza, the entrance into the pyramids is a thief's entrance. They never found the entrance to the pyramids. They blew a hole into the side of it. That's how you get to the pyramids today. The Arabs came and blew a hole in the side of the pyramid so that they can get in it. The pyramid has no doors. But did you hear what I just said? The pyramid at Giza, the pyramids at Giza, they don't have no doors. Arabs, English, French, they came in and blew holes in the sides of our structures. And that's how you get in today. So you got to ask yourself, when you see our stuff broken up, ripped up, fragmented, you got to ask, who did that? Because if you ask who did that, it's going to point all the way back here. It's going to point back to those who are writing your Bible now. It's going to point back to those who wrote the Quran, the Torah, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the 5 baskets of Buddha. All of that's colonial. And no disrespect. I have to keep saying that. It's no disrespect. We're dealing with straight knowledge here. There's no disrespect. Maintain your maturity. This is knowledge reigning supreme. That's it. We ain't dealing with nothing else here. Nothing. Here's knowledge. I don't have no like or dislike. I'm trying to save my people. Now, if we can recognize everybody else as holy, why we can't recognize ourselves as holy? Why we can't recognize hip-hop as holy? Everybody else just decided their stuff was holy by stealing our stuff. So why can't we reclaim our stuff? If we are the originators of the Bible, then we don't need to take their Bibles and what they stole from us. If we are the originals, let's just write another one. if we are truly the originals, then we should have already written one, right?
You did?
I'm reaching for my G right now. I'm just reaching for it right now because we are the originals of this. So why we can't write the same knowledge down and even update it for our community today? That's what we did. That's what this book is about. And the books to follow it. That's what it's going to be about, the reclaiming of our culture. So remember, so that's what we're dealing with in the first half. This half here is about our divinity. And I'm about to bring divinity down to the common man, to the common woman, to the common child. Divinity. Let's start with the word super. I just mentioned what is super: over, above, at the top of, on, upon. Okay? Super. What is superhuman? You know, we went over this last week. I'm not going to dwell on it, but I got to show you this to get to divinity. Superhuman, okay, super and human. Compare this, okay, superhumano, above that which is human, more than human, of a quality, act, etc., higher than that of man, beyond the capacity or power of man. Now, last week, I broke this down to you and said to you that when we say higher than man, most of us get into this dream again. We back to the Life magazine. Oh, it's some holy figure that I can never become. No, higher than man simply means above the average person. That's it. Here's an example. If everybody's stealing and you manage to rise above that, you superhuman. If everybody's lying and you telling the truth, you superhuman. And I say above that which is human. Well, it's human to lie. It's human to be depressed. It's human to get angry. It's human to have no control of yourself. It's human to get hungry and give in to cravings. It's human to steal. If you can go beyond that, you're superhuman. And don't forget all this lofty nonsense they pushing on us. It has nothing to do with that. Humanity, superhuman abilities is simply anyone excellent. You are superhuman. Down here, a person's or being higher than man, having a nature above that of man. Man is a regular animal beast who just gets through all that I just mentioned to you. If you can live above the average man, you're superhuman.
Let's interject real quick on that.
Say that.
Who did they see to make that a definition?
They saw us. They saw the ancient hip-hopians. They saw us act. This was our character that they are recording. They saw the character and said anybody above us is a god. Anybody acting like them Ethiopians over there, they call them the blameless Ethiopians. Blameless. Imagine having a title like that as a nation. not as a person, as a nation. They call the Ethiopians the blameless Ethiopians. Imagine a nation you can't blame for nothing. You can't even contemplate that in a Western society. Every nation got sin on it. Every nation got blood on their hand. Everybody stole. Everybody involved in the slave trade. Everybody murdering everybody. Pakistan got a nuclear missile pointed at India. India got a nuclear missile pointed at Pakistan. Israel is disrespecting Palestine. Palestinians fighting Israel. If you can rise above that, you're superhuman. Here's supernatural, not the MC, but the word. That is above nature, belonging to a higher realm or system than that of nature, transcending the powers or the ordinary course of nature. Did you see this word, the ordinary course? Did you see that? The ordinary course of nature. Well, the ordinary course of nature is rain. The ordinary course of nature is snow. I was in a snowstorm driving to New York when the snowstorm jumped off about 2 weeks ago. I was in that snowstorm driving to New York, and I drove straight through it. I had the skill to drive straight through it. I saw cars on the side of the road, people turned over, crazy. I drove straight through it because I had the skill. I know how to drive through snow and all. So I drove straight through it. That's a superhuman act. That's supernatural. The normal course of nature is snow on the ground. I'm above it. I'm defying it. The normal course of nature is kill and eat. If you don't have to kill to eat, you're supernatural. Vegetarians are supernatural. Okay, that's what it means. Not no glowing head, not no wings on the back, none of that bionic man. I can run down the street. That's Hollywood. If we're really going to get to the divinity, let's get with the word. And let's get with the word as it is. That is above nature. If you live like a dog, then you with nature. And no disrespect to the dog. Our dog. Nobody dissing the dog, but the dog is a dog. Now you gonna live like a dog, you living naturally. It ain't nothing wrong with living like a dog. But if you decide to live above the dog, you live in supernaturally. Most humans don't get past the dog. Here's another definition. Relating to dealing, and this is supernatural. What is supernatural? Relating to, dealing with, or characterized by what is above nature. That's the key. Characterized by that which is above nature. Character above nature? Wait a minute. To be supernatural means that I have a character above nature, or I can be characterized above nature. See, most people will read this and start looking for a cartoon. They say, oh, that's supernatural. Here you go again. Second definition. More than natural or ordinary. Unnaturally or extraordinarily great. Michael Jordan is supernatural. LeBron James, supernatural. These guys are extraordinarily great. Einstein, supernatural. Extraordinarily great. Look at these people, okay? Abnormal. Well, I wouldn't say that of myself. I appreciate you. Abnormal, extraordinary, beyond the normal number, supernumerary, okay? This is what it means to be supernatural, to be superhuman. It doesn't mean lifting trucks and cars. It has nothing to do with Marvel Comics and the Avengers. Real superhumans are simply a father that loves his kid. That's superhuman. That's supernatural, because in the natural world, you can have a kid and don't even care. In the natural world. Okay? So if you are amongst a bunch of people who don't love their children, and the whole world, I mean, come on now, United States, people dissing their kids. Killing their kids. Wow. Whoa. Wow. Amber Alert went off the other day. If you can live above that, you're superhuman. And that's really how simple it is. That's why I'm bringing it to you like this. We're not doing no dreaming. We're just going to read the word and interpret it as it is. That's how you get to your divinity.
Oh, and it was a guy who took his daughter.
It was a guy that took his daughter?
Yes.
That's right.
That's what it was.
That's right. They went to go get ice cream and they called an Amber Alert on them. I don't know that to be the case. But what someone is referring to is that the other day there was an Amber Alert in Atlanta, and there was a man abducted a young girl, 17, and the whole, the Amber Alert went off that he had abducted her, and it turned out it was her father that had abducted her. So probably some domestic squabble or something like that. But the police was saying that she's in grave danger after she was abducted. It was weird. It was a wild situation. But again, we're speaking to you, we're deviating a little bit, but it's just wild what people are doing with children. How could you harm a child? Anyway, here's the word God. We dealt with this last week, okay? We dealt with this last week. I want to read this to you. This is God. I'm sorry, how am I doing on time? What's my time?
9:46.
Okay, we're coming up on that 3. I want to read this to you. This is coming to our close too, by the way. Here's God, okay? Now remember, it's supernatural, superhuman. Here's God. The Gothic and Old Norse words always follow the neuter declination, though when used in the Christian sense, they are syntactically masculine, okay? So what they're saying is the original concepts of God was always neutral. It was neuter. It was neutral. It could be male or female. The word God, there was no goddess. The word God was applied to male, female, and animals, and even plants. Okay, it was neutral. But in the Christian sense, it became masculine. You see this? The Old Teutonic type is therefore Gudo. That's Teutonic is a language. Okay, Gudo, neutral or neuter, the adoption of the masculine concord being presumably due to the Christian use of the word. Okay, so they say the Old Teutonic type is Gudo, and they say Gudo had the same definition as God, but the adoption of the masculine came from these Christians. Okay, the Christians' use of Gudo, they put the man on it. The neuter syllable in its original heathen use, that means those before Christians, those that are not Christians, Hippopolis, okay, in its original heathen use, would answer rather to the Latin numen than to the Latin deus. Very important here, okay? The original, do you see it? The neuter, this word in its original heathen use. So they're telling you right away the very concept of God is not even Christian. In the heathen use, which means not Christian, not Jewish, not Muslim. Heathen, okay? And if we're talking Christian here, it's just not Christian, because Christians will call Muslims heathens, So in this Christian sense, and that's what they're talking about here, they say in the heathen use, this word God would answer rather to the Latin numen than to deus in Old Teutonic. In Old Teutonic was ansu. Okay? Gothic in Latinized plural form ances. And I am digging this word out because I think it's the root word of ancestor. I'm still getting that information together, but I'm almost certain that this word ancest is the genesis of the word ancestor. And as a matter of fact, the word is ancest. So if you were to say, what is your ancestor? What is your ancest? It's your God. What is God to you? your ancestors. That's it right here. Your ancestors. That's your God. That would be your God, okay? The equivalent is ancestors. And I would say ancestors. All Norse impersonal names, but this seems to have been applied only to the higher deities of the native pantheon, never to foreign gods, and it never came into Christian use. Do you see that? They're talking about the heathen use. Okay? They saying when we was using the word God, it seems to have been applied only to the higher deities with an S, the multiple gods, higher deities of the native pantheon, us, the savages, the primitives, the natives, the Negroes, the niggers, us. Deities of the native pantheon, never to foreign gods, meaning all these other gods that came to invade us. And it never came into Christian use. Never came into Christian use. And this last part is important because when it says never to foreign gods and never came into Christian use, then who are they talking about? Who are you talking about? You're talking about somebody that's not Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Jew, none of that. Okay, the original God. Here's the definition of God in the English language. First of all, you can't even have a definition of God. I mentioned that last week. I got to put that disclaimer on it, that anybody arrogant enough to tell you what God is, you better watch out, okay? Because these people here, they actually have a definition for God that they can write in their language. But the point to bringing this up is that you got to see what God actually is.
Ansu is Hindu. Hindu for the sun. The ray of light.
Ansu.
That's what I'm saying. And An
Right.
is another name for sun.
Right. An is a sun.
An itself.
Right. Right. O-N. O-N.
Yes. But they're always, or something I was going to point out later, but with all that we're doing with the words, all of us have to get used to the fact of switching out the vowels in every way, shape, form, or fashion, because this is how the languages are developing, and they're just changing spellings.
They're changing spellings and having us
and hiding meanings.
Changing spellings and hiding meanings. That should have been the title of this lecture. Changing spellings and hiding meanings. So here's the definition of God. Thank you for that. That was raw. That Ansu also pertains to the sun in the sky. And I would argue for that soul on another level, but we're not there. Let's stick with the word itself. Here's the definition of God. In the original pre-Christian, do you hear this? Now imagine, these are Christian authors. So what they're writing here is their record of God. They are seeing people, okay, that they themselves are saying is God. Look at the definition. In the original pre-Christian sense and uses thence derived. Like this is before the Christians and all the uses afterwards. A superhuman person. Stop. Oh, man. Is that up on the screen? A superhuman person. Regarded as masculine, and then it says, see goddess, who is worshipped as having power over nature and the fortunes of mankind, a deity, chiefly of heathen divinities, not Christian, not Jewish, not Muslim. When applied to the one supreme being, this sense becomes more or less modified. So the whole concept of God, the whole concept of a one supreme being and deities that come from the one supreme being, all of this is pre-Christian. pre-Jewish. These are the people that they are seeing and saying, yo, that's God. Y'all gods. But we're going to rob you because God is vulnerable. God don't fight. God don't need to. God has already set you up. And that's another lecture. I'm going to get to that. It's another lecture, how the whole Western society got set up by our ansus. So here's godlike, okay, of persons. Do you see, every time we come to this word godlike, God, people, not something in the sky. People are godlike or can be godlike. People are persons resembling God. How does a person resemble God? This is scholarship too, y'all. This is the Oxford English Dictionary. They're not going to write something in here that's not true. Oh, that's not true. They're not going to write something in here that's not fact. They're not going to write something in here that they themselves don't need to remember. What is it to be godlike? Of persons resembling God or a God. Wow. So you can resemble God or a God. It would be godlike. Okay? In some quality, especially in nature or disposition, divine. I'm going to go back real quick. I want to show you this. What is God? A superhuman person, regarded as masculine, who is worshipped as having power over nature. Right there. When you say power over nature, you start thinking Zeus. You start thinking Thunderbolt. You start thinking he can control the weather. You start thinking he could make fire with his eyes. You start thinking Superman, basically. You start thinking of comic books and cartoons and Sistine Chapel pictures and all this type of stuff. When you really think about it, power over nature is power over your cravings. Power over nature is not to be afraid of 120-degree weather in Las Vegas, Nevada. Power over nature is air conditioning. That's power over nature. If you got an AC, that's God. You should worship your AC as God because the air conditioner has power over nature if it's 120 degrees out. Power over nature is when it's 20 below. You got that heat going. You got power over nature. When it's raining, you have shelter or an umbrella. That's power over nature. Don't get caught up in some, I gotta fly like Superman. So we went through this, okay? Okay, we went through this. Let me take you here. So, and why am I coming to divine? Because it says resembling God or, right? Especially in nature or disposition, divine. And notice how this word nature, right? That's not nature. Let me bring you back. Damn, I gotta bring you back here. Hold up. Okay. When you're talking about nature, meaning the earth, nature is usually spelled with a capital N. Remember that. Nature is like God is spelled with a capital G, and gods are spelled in lowercase g. Nature is usually spelled with a capital N. So when you look at this nature right here, and of course I should have brought nature and put it up here for you, but nature is your character. Power over nature, power over your character.
Power over your nature.
Power over your nature. Do you have power over your nature? Do you influence your nature? Who is dictating to you your nature, your being, your character? Those that have power over their nature and the fortunes of mankind, which means you have power over yourself, you have power over your fortunes. And what's going to happen to you? That's a God. This is why it's important to grab hold of yourself, like I'm going to do tomorrow. Grab hold of yourself. Have power over your nature and steer your course. So I bring this back because what is it to be godlike? Resembling God or a God in some quality. It don't even have to be the whole God. Look at what they're saying. They don't have to be all God. All you got to do is represent God in some quality, and you are godlike. Especially in nature. Now, that's not nature, trees and rocks and sea. That's not what they're talking about here. They say quality, resembling God or a God in some quality, especially in nature or disposition. Look at it, nature or disposition. Your character, who you are. If your character and nature and disposition matches God or a God, you are God. What is it to be God? In nature or disposition, to resemble God in nature or disposition. Divine, and that's when we get to this word. Divine, okay? Divine. One, of or pertaining to God or a God. Wait a minute, let me come back. Look how you do it. Resembling God or a God. What is to be divine? Of or pertaining to God or a God. What does it mean to be divine? Two, given by or proceeding from God, having the sanction of or inspired by God. Now realize that when they're talking about God, they're talking about people. When they're talking about God, they're talking about people who have mastered themselves. People who are above nature, meaning outside here, because like I showed you, the real idea of God is your environment. God is in your environment. So once you've mastered your environment, you've mastered yourself and revealed God. Given by or proceeding from God. God is not a white man in the sky. God is you. And when you overcome your nature, or if you can master your own self, where you control what's going on and you control the fortunes of your life, that's God. That's divine. Not a cartoon. Real divinity. Real divinity. Here's four. Partaking of the nature of God, characteristic of or consonant to deity, godlike. You saw that. Heavenly, celestial. This is what it means. And these are all achievable states of consciousness. All achievable states of character. All of it. His 4B and going into 5. B, immortal. Once you've mastered your nature, guess what you get? See, we don't pay attention to this. Beatified. We looked at that last week. What did that mean? Beatified. Beatified.
Blissful.
Blissful. What does it mean to be divine? Immortal and blissful. It's obsolete now because they don't want you to know that. Here's 5. Now, this is a real clincher. In weaker sense, and not weaker meaning it's less than, this is grammatic talk. In a weaker sense, more than human, we just saw this, excellent, in a superhuman degree. That's what it means to be divine. More than human, excellent, in a superhuman degree. You are above, you are excellent above humans. Of persons. Look, they're bringing it out to you. Of more than human. How can a person be more than human? It's that you're not doing that dumb human stuff. You're not succumbing to the animal part of your human nature. You've superseded it. You've gotten on top of that. More than human. Excellent. In a superhuman degree. Of persons of more than human or ordinary excellence. Imagine there's ordinary excellence and then there's superhuman excellence. Preeminently gifted. Preeminently gifted in the highest degree. Excellence. Excellent. So when you're reaching for excellence, you're reaching for divinity. And when you're reaching for divinity, you're reaching for God. and not some God in the sky, the God that you already are. The Begotten soul that brings life into you. Once you can hear the frequency of God, which is not letters, the word of God is a frequency. It's a character. You hear it. Here's divinity. And this is where we close out. The character or quality of being divine. Divineness. God, Godhood. Divine nature. Deity. Godhead. Okay? This is where we at. This is where it comes to a close. So I just want to say, before we bring it to the close, and actually, son, I'm going to ask you to close, so that I can finish this water over here. But as we close this lesson out, what is the point of today's lesson? Don't get caught up in fantasy, imagination. You know, the Avengers. To be superhuman, you got to be the Hulk. To be superhuman, you got to be Thor or Superman. Get that off your mind, because that prevents people from being divine. It prevents people from really seeing their divinity, because they're putting it so far out of their own imagination they can't even bring it close to themselves, so we never become divine. The object of this lesson is to look at the word itself and see what true divinity actually is. You are the unbegotten soul. You are godlike. You are the goddess. You are God. You are not the sovereign mind of the universe. No, you're not. But if you come from that, and you recognize that, and you seek the excellence with that, you are indeed God. And you should walk as a God. And don't be afraid to walk as a God. We're going to continue this lesson next week as well as we go forward. Thank you for this. Son One, take us out, please.
Peace and much love. I'd like to start off by thanking Teacher KRS-One for such an enlightening teaching. Again, we had mentioned last week that we're going to be delving into very sensitive knowledge, and that hopefully it's divine that you are present with us, so that you are at a level and at a place in your life of which you can actually handle such teachings. If you can't tell by now, we love God. This is why we're focusing on getting it right. It's amazing that that others that actually do love God haven't taken the time to look up what God is, or what it is literally. But this shows the character of those who are really God-like. And no, we look for all things God, and we are developing our nature to align with that of God. Teacher broke down how, unfortunately, the different books, or many of the books that we have today, are not giving you the same interpretations of which those who have mastered the knowledge actually have for themselves. there are works being done sporadically, almost as if the wind of God is blowing certain people in different directions to create things that are making it easier for us to be able to decipher the knowledge of God. So I have this huge book here, which is called the Orthodox Jewish Bible. Unfortunately, in trying to do scholarship on the original Hebrew, you'll find that when you go to get a dictionary of Hebrew to English, they literally just show you it written in Hebrew and then the word in English. The problem with this is how many people can actually read Hebrew? What this guy did is he took a lot of important words that are Hebrew and put them where they should be, and then put in parentheses beside them the meaning. And plus, there's a very nice glossary in the back of this. Now, I point this out. Again, it's the Orthodox Jewish Bible. We'll be getting into this in future studies. That, unfortunately, and as heartbreaking as it may be, especially to those who have dedicated their lives to theology and the quote-unquote holy books that are available to people today, that you can't read it without having the original text and without knowing the other language. And then on top of that, knowing the culture. You can't read it. You have no, or I don't want to say you have no idea, but it's kind of close to that you really have no idea what these books are actually saying, unfortunately. And it really adds to the colonization of our people. But what should never be forgotten, again, which teacher pointed out, and I know some people may want to skip over this part, but all of this was stolen. It's a part of our Black African stolen legacy. They stole it. It's not in its original form. You have to get over it. I know that they try to put it out as though, no, this is the Word of God. This is it. And it shouldn't be changed in this, that, and the third, but they gave it to you changed. King James puts out his version or hires people to make a version that's suitable for his reign over the people. And for the fact that these other Bibles would really, in reading them, they the understanding of a Wycliffe Bible. It says, wait a minute, you sound like this dude who's doing this. You sound like this dude who's doing this. He said, nah, we got to calm that down. We got to quell that feeling down. Somehow, again, it needs to be put in there that even though you're being beat, robbed, raped, murdered, all of this, right, kicked out of your land, kicked out, that, no, you should turn the other cheek. It's okay. God made this like this. It's prophecy that you're going to be slaves for 400 years. Don't worry about it. God will take care of it all in the end. But as we see, you're God. And you're supposed to be taking care of it in the end. But if you can't formulate, and what's even messed up is, again, they leave out Psalms 82 that tells you that you're supposed to be God or you're going to die like a man. You have to be able to see what's been done to people for centuries who've lived entire lives having no idea. They expect the wings. They expect the horns of the devil. They expect all of this to end up existing in something that is so far away from the truth, very likely. And you could guarantee that they would have fought for what they knew to be right, had they have known that no, something wasn't coming, no Superman was going to fly out of the sky and start walking on the water and doing all this stuff to save us. I had a conversation with one of my brothers. I said, listen, if I told you that yesterday I saw Pascal, and Pascal took this decrepit old lady, put hands on her, and healed her. Would you believe me? Yesterday. Would you believe me? You have to ask. And if you don't believe me about yesterday, there are certain things of why would you believe in fanatical stories of such in such a way. Now we understand that these are the purpose of these stories and how there's much more meaning that no, in studying these stories, you can develop your character. You can fix your nature. You can become compassionate like a Jesus would be. This would, and it's so wild because it's connected in my mind now that, right, if you become that compassionate, everybody becomes that compassionate. No, then miraculous healings do start happening. And for free. To whereas, no, you don't have to pay for health care. Why? Because we all care and love each other. This is, or the reason for our originals of how we created them in order to teach our people to have a divine nature, to be God-like, to become God. Put the man down. Leave that alone. That's of a lower state of being. There's much more to this life that you can experience if you could achieve your Godhead. Again, I thank you for joining us and continuously joining us. It's appreciative. Obviously, it's wonderful to actually even have somebody to teach and to share this knowledge with who care about it. I would like to say I'll address some things from the chat. Next week, I saw that there were issues, so I shut the chat off. We really don't want to have to police the chat. It's a little ridiculous when the teaching starts. We just ask that you all know, stop chatting. Let it go by. And at the end, you can put certain things. But again, there's no sense in us offending each other already. in something as simple as a chat room. So there's that. Also, this is not the place unfortunately, to be asking for interviews, to be asking for features, this, that, and the third. If you want something done of that nature, you should go to krs-one.com and go to the contact section, and you should be able to propose whatever it is that you want. And again, if as you can see, putting these presentations and things together take a lot of time. This is not done overnight. And we are continuously still doing it. Or the knowledge really never stops. So you should understand that if you do send an email, and unfortunately, we get in thousands of emails. So unless it's pertaining to something that we need to address immediately, no, you may not get a response. We do see them though, and we check them. And I know, unfortunately, somebody will say, well, what I'm saying is important, or what I'm sending is important, and I want a response. Unfortunately, then we would have to afford everybody that same luxury who's just saying, what's up? And we're just not going to do that, or for our own organization. But again, if it's of extreme importance, if it's of a supernatural nature, we will definitely hit you back. But right now, our organizing is us learning these teachings. It's us getting acquainted and on the same page, so we know what the Temple of Hip Hop has essentially come to do. And so, again, it's no disrespect to anybody, but again, we are constantly working on presentations for you, working on writing books, edutainment, all the above, and it's for you. And you should really know that like specifically, it's for you. So with that, I thank you all again. Understand that we are a hip hop preservation ministry, archive, school, and society. We believe in preserving hip hop in a unique way. Our way of preserving hip hop is actually preserving the actual hip hop. Please visit us at thetempleofhiphop.org and krs-one.com. Every third week in May, we celebrate Hip Hop Appreciation Week. This year's theme for Hip Hop Appreciation Week is peace. It'll be from May 17th to May 23rd. And obviously, May 16th will be the 20th anniversary of the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace itself. And we are working on also very exciting presentations to present for you for that week. So, peace and much love. I hope you're as excited. Please watch this again. Let it soak in. Some of you, give yourself time to really think about it and let it resonate within your soul. I know this was a lot today. It was a lot. But peace and much love to you. Can you turn on the other mic, please?